This podcast is a member of the Voices of Wrestling Podcasting Network. Visit voicesofwrestling.com to hear the rest of our great podcasts, as well as show reviews, columns, opinions, and updates across the world of wrestling.
Many, Mickey, Pishy.
You are listening to the Voices of Wrestling podcast with your hosts, Joe Lanza.
X out and go listen to some boring podcast where they're afraid of their own shadow. Okay? Don't listen to Joe Lanza, because Joe Lanza's not changing.
And Rich Craich.
Give me a name. Like who delivers this guy in a big spot?
Joe, don't yell at me.
In the big spot, who delivers better than this guy?
Stop yelling at me. I agree.
You are listening to the best wrestling podcast in the world, the Voice of Wrestling Flagship podcast. I, of course, am the king of banter, Joe Lanza. And listen, making his presence felt this week. Graciously making his presence felt for once, back from his latest vacation, is the captain, Rich Craich. How are you, Rich?
I'm good. Good. How are you?
I'm outstanding. I had to review 3 enormous wrestling shows by myself last week, which you have agreed to, in excruciating detail, go over every match from all 3 of those shows.
Beginning with NXT UK Cardiff. Of course, we're going to start with that.
Want to know what you think. You can start with Noam Dar versus Travis Banks. The floor is yours.
Right. All right. So, actually, I missed that match. Sorry. Fuck. I didn't watch that one.
Yeah.
I'll jump at. I watched the last half of NXT UK Cardiff. So that was kind of a weird day with All Out happening, and we obviously had some people that were going to go to All Out or whatever. So we had some people over to watch stuff, and we're watching Royal Quest, and then we realized that we had like a 2-hour gap between the end of Royal Quest and the beginning of All Out. And what do you fill that time with other than more wrestling, of course, which to the few wives that were there said the first time when they saw Royal Quest, they said, "Oh, is this the show we're watching?" And all the husbands had to say, no, that's like later. And then we put on NXT UK Cardiff, and then they went, "Oh, okay, cool. So this is the show you guys are watching." And we were like, "No, not quite. This is the second or the third." And then halfway through All Out, they all said, "Can we please go home now? This is terrible." I'm going to stop doing this. But because of that, we had to kind of decide, okay, what parts of NXT UK TakeOver we're going to watch. So we had to just basically jump into like halfway into the show. So I saw the Cesaro-Ilya match all the way pretty much until the end of that.
So let me get this straight. You've seen all of All Out.
Correct. As heard on voicewrestling.com/Patreon. Instant reaction.
All of Royal Quest.
All of Royal Quest, yes.
And half of NXT UK TakeOver Cardiff.
Right.
That's not bad. I figured with skipping off to Iceland that your answer would have been, well, I saw the main event of All Out and I haven't seen any Royal Quest yet, and I figured you would just blow off NXT UK.
No, I mean, hey, when you're there live, I mean that was a day. Like we kind of made it. Like when you make that a thing, when you start at 10 a.m., you just grind on the wrestling. It's great. You just say like, "This is what I'm doing today. I'm just watching wrestling today." I know you had mentioned on I think offline, you were saying that you just had to have one of those days where you're just like, TLB, sorry, this is a wrestling day, like from beginning to end or whatever. I don't think you quite did that because that was the birthday dinner day. But yeah, sometimes you just have to say, if you just lock it down and just watch it live, because that's the excruciating part, is watching stuff back. Like if you miss a lot of it live and you got to go, okay, like that happens a lot of weekends where like something's going on and I'm like, oh crap, I got to watch, whatever, some random G1 show or some random New Japan show, and you try to watch it on like a Tuesday, and it just kind of always feels, but if you just watch it live, you just watch it as it happens, it's so much easier. It's just so much better for us the way we do the show, just to kind of check that box and be like, cool, all right, good, I don't have to watch that the whole week, so that's good. I already watched it. It's good. It's done.
Well, it's easier to get into it when it's live.
Exactly, right.
And if you have to go back and watch something, first you have to form the motivation to go back and watch it. And then you have to try to be into it when it happened 3 days ago and you already know who won and you're not watching unspoiled. It's a lot harder. I agree. It's much easier to watch it live. So, all right, you kept up with the wrestling. I wanted to kill you, but I can't kill you. But you missed a very newsworthy week with the site. Listen, I'm always going to get us in trouble, especially when you're not around. So that should be
right. Well, to be fair, and to be a little. I think I started the trouble, and then you like I subtly started the trouble, and then you took it another level, which is.
You talking about the Kylie Ray stuff?
The Kylie Ray stuff, yeah. Which I want to say for people that have not listened to last week's episode, we don't have to go over that all over again or whatnot. But I did listen to last week's episode, and I listened to that opening monologue, and people should definitely go back and listen to that. I think that is one of the best pieces of audio that you've ever done, and I think the most true audio that you've ever done. Like, I'm fist pumping the entire time, and because that's exactly how I feel about the situation as well, 100% the way I felt, and that's kind of. And I sent some tweets out. I think it was Sunday. I want to say I sent some tweets out, and it's because like we were in we've had weeks now of this kind of like, oh, well, this Kylie Ray thing. What a disaster. Oh my God. Oh, people are, and it's just always this like hushed tones and yada, yada, yada. And like people just being like, well, let's whatever, Kylie Ray, whatever. And I just kind of lost it. And I was like, no, like there's gotta be like, if people are going to talk in hushed tones and sort of bring up her name and all this sort of stuff, but then also just kind of say, oh, whatever, who cares? Well, what are you going to do? It happened. Or, oh, well, you don't, nobody knows the whole story. Oh, this story is going to, it was just like annoying where it's just like, oh, can somebody just have the story? Can somebody just actually look into this thing and see what's going on and find out more about it? And that's kind of what my angle was. And then I think you took it in a great angle as well, where people were just kind of saying, and well, why? Who cares? That she wants her privacy, and Tony Khan said it's nothing, so it's got to be nothing. And it's just like I was listening to that and reading the tweets, whenever I was able to get Wi-Fi, and just kind of getting infuriated and more infuriated, and seeing the mentions and seeing people saying that. And I was so glad to hear that audio and hear from people that we really do appreciate. There was a lot of, as you said on audio as well, like real journalists, people that we really do respect in the wrestling industry that jumped on. They didn't want to catch the heat, and I get it. So they weren't in the mentions. They weren't quote tweeting it because they don't want to get the heat, but the DMs were filled with people saying, right on, you're absolutely on the money. I'm trying to look into this. I can't find anything. I'm getting, roadblocks, but I'm trying. Like, it was great to see that real people are trying, while the rest of the people are just saying, well, respect your privacy. And Tony Khan said it's nothing, so it's got to be nothing. It's like, okay, well, then I guess it's nothing. That this woman who loved wrestling and all she ever wanted to do was wrestle and got the biggest push of her life would just disappear off the face of the earth one day out of nowhere. I'm sure that's perfectly fine and just exactly normal, and there's not anything wrong with that. So, yeah, I thought that audio was real great last week. And yeah, I was kind of both glad to kind of be away from that storm, but then also I kind of wanted to be a part of it a little bit as well, because I do think that's an important topic that again, like you said, time, I think, will be on our side with this when the details eventually do emerge, if they do ever emerge. So we'll see.
Well, thank you for that. And it's like, first of all, that was a second draft, because the first rant went unrecorded. So I had to do it all over again, which, as you know, as someone who does this, you never get the same level of passion or anything else when you have to repeat the same points over again because you forgot to slap record or something went wrong with the recording on the first try. I had that big emotional dump doing it the first time, and then it didn't record. And you don't know how deflating that was. I almost threw in the towel on the whole show because you know how frustrating that is.
Oh, yeah, it's terrible. I mean, it's worse to lose a 3-hour show, but like losing even a 20-minute segment, you have to go back and talk about that again, which is the worst thing. Nobody, if you don't record audio, you don't do podcasts, there's nothing like
understand
having to re-talk about, like, say if we cover it on this show, or we're going to preview the Destruction shows, if that didn't record, Joe, there's no way that I can go, okay, Jay White and Tetsuya Naito for the second time. We've done it because, it's part of the job that you have to do it. But it's like, you would rather do anything else in the world than talk about the same thing you just talked about again, and then try to fake match the enthusiasm or excitement or the points that you had before. It's just awful.
Especially a topic like that. So I had this big emotional dump, then it wasn't there. And I almost just hand waved the whole thing. So I took a break. I left the house. I went and had some lunch. I punched the air. And then I did it again. And and you know exactly where I'm coming from when I say, I know I crushed it better the first time. You know what I mean? It's like, because it's like, again, you're repeating the same points and you're trying to remember everything. And there's key points that I forgot to say the second time. But the point here is, that's all in my head. What everybody heard, they seem to enjoy and agree with. And I guess that's all that matters. And the best part about it, I've never been more confident in my life that I'm right about something. And I do think that time will prove us. When I say us, you and everyone, all the other people who agree that there's a story here, will prove us right. I've never been more confident that I was correct about something. And it's like, the best part about it, Rich, is seeing the following all week long. I hate Joe Lanza, but, and then they agree with me.
there was a lot of that, which is good. That means you must have had a good point, because those people couldn't even bring themselves to still hate you.
It's not just the fact that people who hate my guts agree with me. It's that they publicly admitted that they. Do you know how right I must be?
The rightest you've ever been.
If people who hate me, not dislike me, not, I'm not too fond of him. No, they hate me. With people who hate you publicly admit that they're on your side and agree with you on something. And it's not just one or two people. Okay. It was a lot of people.
A lot of past blocks that have recently unblocked us and now refollowing us. So
yes, to tell us, I still hate you, but my God, were you right? And you were so right on this. That is the sign that you're really on the right side of something. But it wasn't just the Kylie Ray thing, Rich. Case Lowe got us fucking destroyed. So obviously being in Iceland, I was 5 hours. What was I ahead of you guys? Well, I forget if it was ahead or behind or whatever the hell it was. So I remember I woke up one morning and it had to be, I forget what it was, something in the middle of the night in Iceland, and during the middle of the day there. I don't forget what it was exactly, but I picked up my phone and I looked at the Twitter logo, and there's just a gigantic red number of notifications, like 125. And I'm just like, oh no, like what did Joe do? What the hell? I click and it is, I've never seen the word yes, I'm sure, or yes more times than our mentions had for that article Case Lowe did about the, are we sure the Young Bucks aren't the greatest tag team of all time, which I got us in a lot of trouble, but I thought was a pretty awesome piece. I'm glad he did that one. And that's another one I'm glad to be in trouble for, because that's another one. Yeah, argue through history. Time might show us be right there. Time might show Case Lowe to be right. So I really enjoyed that article. But yeah, that was a day scrolling through the mentions and saying, oh my God, what happened here? And then just seeing just a barrage of people trying to dunk. And yeah, that was good. With such luminaries as the Harlem Heat and Demolition. Well, yeah, I mean, I want to get to that. But every time I flipped the app open on the phone, there were triple-digit mentions
right.
of the same type. Like everyone. First of all, I don't know. Do you think this is an argument in favor or against titling every article as a question? Right? Because the title of the article was, "Are we sure the Young Bucks aren't the greatest tag team of all time?" ? To which everyone thought they were the most clever person ever and hit quote tweet and answered either yes, or I've never been more sure of anything in my life, or, some variation of that. Okay. You weren't the first person to think of that quote tweet. Okay. And you had to know that was a hack response, but they all went for it anyway. So is it good that we phrased it as a question to get all of that, I don't know, interaction? Or do you think it's bad and it's just annoying? Because there's two different ways of looking at that. It, without question, brought a ton of attention and eyeballs to the site. Now, do I think that 90% of those people never clicked the article? Of course, that's what I think. But 10% of them probably did, right? So is it a good thing or a bad thing that we phrased it in the form of a question, Jeopardy style?
I was kind of looking at the analytics earlier today about that exact same thing to see if, was it a good idea or a bad idea?
No hard numbers, Rich. No hard numbers.
I'm not giving any hard numbers. Don't worry. But I will say,
information.
Oh, absolutely. You gotta pay the big bucks for that. Beat me or Joe. But we did get a lot of new users that clicked on the link. Now, a lot of them didn't stay to read it, but a lot of them did stay to read it.
Okay, so what you're saying is, for people who may not understand the website biz, you're saying people who have never looked at our site before,
correct,
popped in for that article.
They did,
which in theory is a good thing.
Absolutely. A lot of them left immediately after, and that's kind of a fun thing too. That's how I also know that they're probably new, because repeat users, usually they'll come to the site and we can see that they click around a little bit. They go to this page, they go to that page, they read this, they read that. Like those ones, they read a lot. They don't just jump in for one article and then bounce, in a little bit. But these new users, and that tends to be the case with a lot of new users to websites, the first time they go to a website, the first time they've ever stumbled upon the site, they'll read the article that was presented to them or that got their attention, and then they'll leave. Well, this time if they did that, they came, but they left right away. But that, again, like that's kind of the game. Regardless, you got a ton of new users. Now, how many of those are going to come back for future stuff? We're going to see. I there's ways in analytics where you can kind of track those people. So I'm going to see all those people that came in for that Bucks article. I'll see if they ever do come back again, and maybe we'll talk about it again next week or off air or something like that. But yeah, pretty interesting stuff to see that. So it did kind of work, but it made our mentions an absolute dumpster fire. So it's like a gift and a curse. Right? Yes, I'm glad that a lot of people read Case's article and checked it out and had some opinions about it, but I'm also like really upset because it just destroyed the mentions for God, it had to be 2 days nonstop, just constant, just attempts at being the funniest person in the world, and every single one of them failing miserably. So yeah, it's a gift and a curse for sure.
Yeah. So it definitely, I guess without question, there's more people aware of our site now that were before. I mean, I think there's no question about that. They all think that they think we're idiots because they disagree with Case's premise. Now, Case's article was very well written, and I don't even necessarily for his argument. And the thing about it is some of the responses, like you said, were just so vapid. Like you're just on another planet. If like there were people just bringing up teams that, they're just, you obviously didn't read the article or understand what angle this argument is coming from. If you're bringing up, like you said, like Harlem Heat,
some mega powers,
what are we doing?
2 matches.
Come on. But by far the most popular response was the Usos. There were more Uso responses than any other response. And granted, most of them came from like Sasha Banks role play accounts. You know what I mean? Like what I learned here too is that any account that has a Sasha Banks pick in the avatar is usually a trash account.
Oh, like, for sure. You can just block on site for sure.
One of the easiest things on wrestling Twitter to figure out is if it has Sasha Banks in the handle or in the avatar, it's probably a very bad account with nothing productive to say. And granted, a lot of times that's probably children, and we're getting all worked up because a fucking 13-year-old is screaming at us about the Usos. You know what I mean? But it's like,
really makes you think about your life, doesn't it?
It does.
Like, you're getting wound up and you're like, wait a minute. I have to not do this.
You have to take a breath and say this is probably a 16-year-old that is screaming about the Usos and Breeze Dango. I got some Breeze Dango responses.
I love it. Yeah, I like it. That's
legitimate, in earnest.
That's a
Breeze Dango response.
Strong take. I'd love to read their article if they want to. If anybody that brought Breeze Dango to us wants to write an article, I would definitely consider publishing it because it's a strong take that you're gonna have to. It's a big swing that you're gonna have to make up for. But yeah,
it's funny though. It's like I guess the article got passed around in those kind of circles, which is why we got all those responses because we weren't getting a ton of. Midnight Express, Rock and Roll Express, The Fantastics, Holy Demon Army, whoever, Ray Stevens and Pat Patterson. Like,
right, we weren't getting legit ones that I would be like, nah, you know what? Yeah, Holy Demon Army, you got a definitely case for that. It was like ones where I'm like, get the fuck out of here.
Road Warriors. Like we got, like the only person who brought up the Road Warriors was like Rob Naylor. Like
right.
Like no one's bringing up like legitimate counter arguments.
There was also the one guy that said I could name 500. Then you challenged him. He brought up the Road Warriors. But yeah, by what about 70? He was like, you're right. Maybe they're in the top 500.
So that guy said, I can name 1,000 teams better
1,000. Oh my God, it wasn't even 500. It was 1,000.
And I said, are you sure? Because 1,000's a lot.
That's a lot.
I'm like, listen, if you don't like, if the point wasn't even, okay, I don't care if you don't like the Young Bucks, but are you sure? And he's like, yeah, you're right. 1,000's a lot, but I bet I can do 500. And I was like, you know what? This is a fun exercise. Go for it. It wasn't like combative or anything. He was a nice guy, and he started naming teams and he tapped out at about, I think it was 117. He tapped out and he said, you know what? I can't do this. I'm tired. But even at 117, he's kind of just naming teams. You know what I mean? It's not like at least half of the teams had no case whatsoever. Like, one of the teams he named was Bobby Eaton and Coco Beware, which was a nice little territory team, but nobody considers that like even close to any kind of all-time team or anything like that. They didn't even team all that often in the grand scheme of things. So it's like, I don't know, but that brought a ton of the likes of which I don't think we've ever received the kind of feedback that we received to that. But
yeah, the only thing that was
an
close,
interesting question. Again,
the only one that was close that I can ever remember is when I took a picture of Zara or whatever her name was when she debuted at Dreamwave.
Oh yeah.
We for a year and a half were still getting likes on those tweets. So like the weird subculture of I forget what her fucking last name was. She was dating Seth Rollins at the time. She was in NXT. Zara, whatever the hell her fucking name was.
Yeah.
I just said Zara's here. That's all it was. And my God, like the stream of shit we got that night, the next day, and then for weeks, months, and like literally a year after was just ridiculous. There'd be like 5 likes a day, and I'm like, what? Why? It's just like a blurry picture.
Well,
it was so weird.
And now she's dating
Sonya Deville, right?
Right, Daria Baronato. Yeah. Why'd I call her Daria Baronato? Yeah, Sonya Deville, I think. At last check, they were a couple, but who knows? I mean, I don't really pay attention to that stuff. But the point here is, she was with Rollins, and then she didn't remember she had a contract, and then she got caught with like Nazi paraphernalia or something.
Yes, she did.
Or like pictures of Nazi fucking. She collects Nazi shit like World War II era. So they fired her, and so I think what happened, and her first wrestling appearance after that was that was AEW, right?
No, Dreamwave. That was still Dreamwave, I believe.
Dreamwave.
Yeah.
Okay. So that was her first wrestling appearance, and Rich posted the picture. But Rich, I think the reason that we were like, to this day, we still get a notification
every so often. Yeah, every so often.
Someone will slap favorite on it or something. But I think the reason is any women's wrestler who is under contract to WWE is going to get that kind of. It's just that's the culture that that's the subculture that tapped into. The diva stands, the WWE women's wrestler subculture is deep, and it's not just deep, it is fucking devoted. I mean, do you see the abuse that like Casey Michael goes through sometimes?
Oh, absolutely.
He has to report something negative. Dig into his reporting on Alicia Fox, if you're listening, and look at the abuse that he takes from Alicia Fox fans. It's so you tap into that, and Rich didn't say anything bad, thank God. We'd still be getting cursed. All he did was post a picture and say she was there, and people still that had to be 5 years ago, right?
Yeah, I'm trying to look at the exact date. Yeah, October 3rd, 2015. 2015. Oh God, yeah, and still to this day, get a few favorites every so often, but not too often anymore. But
so are the Young Bucks the greatest tag team of all time? Is there let me put it to you this way. Is there a case that they're the greatest tag team of all time?
I think you can make a real case about it. Would I be comfortable saying right now, gun to my head, they are? I don't know that I'd be 100% fine with that. I would like to kind of look at some other stuff. Like to me, they're in the picture at least. Like, I don't know if I can give you right now definitively, Joe, my top number one, no doubt, or best tag team of all time or whatever, but they absolutely have to be in the running in some way, shape, or form. If they're not in your running, then you're just, I think you're just ignoring a lot of what's been going on in wrestling for the last decade or so. Because I mean, this team, one of the more prolific teams in wrestling in terms of matches wrestled over the last decade or whatever. They've worked everywhere. They've worked in every country. Worked in New Japan. They've worked in Mexico. They've worked in America. And on their backs, the biggest competition that's been brought to American wrestling in a decade plus is because of them as well. So it's like it's impossible not to give them credit on that level. I mean, they are definitely up there, and I think what helps them too is that the two guys don't have any significant singles experience that really stands out too, and I think that helps a lot. Right. So we had some other people on, and we even have an article on the website about the Hardys, which I don't fully agree about the Hardys because I just don't know that they have the longevity there. And again, like the Hardys, I think people conflate a lot of the Hardys are one of the greatest tag teams of all time with Matt and Jeff Hardy are very good wrestlers that had very good careers. But I don't know if you said, okay, let's eliminate all Jeff Hardy single stuff and all Matt Hardy single stuff. Just looking at the Hardys tag team stuff, I don't know. I mean, it's great.
Left with
there's a lot of great stuff in there, but I think people sort of, and they do that with like teams like Harlem Heat too. Like if you actually legitimately believe Harlem Heat is good, it's because you think Booker T is good. And then Booker T had a great career. But like what Booker T did in 2005 in WWE doesn't matter. That's not Harlem Heat. Harlem Heat is him and Stevie Ray. And like, there's no way that you can make a case for that. And people like with the Mega Powers will bring that up too. No, you're saying Hulk Hogan and Randy Savage are the great, two of your favorites of all time. That's fine. You could do that. So I think that's one thing that helps those guys a lot is that you can't really strike that out at all. It's like everything that they've done, everything that they've accomplished has been together. And they've been doing it for so long now. And yeah, I think you can make a real case about them. I really do. Am I comfortable 100% saying, yeah, absolutely they are right now? No, I don't think so. But they have to be in the running. I think they absolutely have to be in the running. They're in my running. I mean, they're definitely in my list of top ones. And I think a real shot to be the top all time. I mean, and hell, their careers maybe are just getting started. They might have another 10 years ahead.
That's the thing about the Bucks. They already have the longevity in terms of being a great team for a long time, longer than most of the teams that were being thrown at us, and longer than most of the teams, period. I mean, you look at the Midnight Express. First of all, you have to break that into two different teams. Okay, you have the Dennis Condrey and Bobby Eaton version.
Sure.
And you have the Stan Lane and Bobby Eaton version. And I'm sorry, those are two different teams. To me, you can't combine them. And if you really want to take it far, there's like 6 different versions of that team. If you want to talk about Condrey and Randy Rose, and you want to talk about Norval Austin and Dennis Condrey, or if you want to talk about fucking Bob Holly and Bart Gunn. I mean, there's like half a dozen different versions of the Midnight Express, and none of them were together for longer than like 3 years. Okay, so there's a longevity issue there. Even teams like people were bringing up like the Hart Foundation. Okay, and even though they have more longevity in some of these other teams, you're talking about 2 runs. One of them was like about 4 years, and the other was like a year and a half or 2 years. So basically, they have, basically, I might be off by a year or 2 there, and it's like longevity alone with the Young Bucks, as legitimate indie draws and now legitimate major league draws as a top drawing act for a legitimate major league company, which, like you said, is just getting started. Redefined the merchandise game and did it as small as essentially small business owners did it themselves. And so put the work aside, even if you don't like their matches. I mean, on longevity alone and some of the things that they've accomplished and their overall influence to the business and where they are now and the fact they're just getting started. I mean, yeah, I do think that they're in the conversation. And I think you're being unfair if you just don't like their style of work to completely write them off in that regard. And here's the other thing. If you're going to completely write them off because you don't like their style of work, please don't bring up the Usos, who basically are, very similar in style to the Young Bucks, to the point that they've ripped off a lot of their act, if we're being completely honest. And it's like, don't bring up the Hardys either, because the Young Bucks are like a derivative of the Hardys, and the Hardys were nothing but a spot fest tag team at their peak too. They made their career in ladder matches. That's where you think of the Hardys. You don't think of old school Southern tags, Rich. You think of falling off of ladders against
Jeff Hardy falling off of high things through a table. It's what you think of.
Which is exactly what the Bucks are. So you have to be fair, too. We had a lot of people go, the Young Bucks, they're a couple of junior spot monkeys. The Hardys, now that's a real tag team. And it's
right, yeah, exactly.
They're the same thing. I mean, you can't, I'm okay if you don't like that style, but you're making an idiot of yourself, and the Usos, I mean, who were throwing all those super kicks first? Okay, it wasn't the Usos. All right. But, as far as the Usos, I have said, I'm on record saying they're probably the greatest WWE tag team of all time. Again, they have a longevity argument. And just by sheer amount of matches that they have in this era, being sometimes on TV twice a week and all of the monthly pay-per-views, they've got a lot of great matches under their belt, and people probably don't realize how many great matches they have under their belt. I don't think they stack up historically, to the Rock and Roll Express or either version of the Midnight Express or the Fantastics. And if, you want to go way back again, people will tell you that Patterson and Ray Stevens are the greatest tag team of all time. Rich, I wasn't at the Cow Palace to see a bunch of those matches, and you weren't either, so it's hard to speak on that. WWE, you want to go back? I mean, you got, Raka and Miguel Perez were a legitimate headlining act in MSG when WWF was a tag team territory, before Bruno Sammartino, before Buddy Rogers even. It was a tag team territory, and that team, headlined they were Madison Square Garden headliners for years. And everything you read and everything you see, they were having matches that were good for their day. So there's some older teams like that Case didn't get into, but who can blame him? He's 20 years old. I mean, and he's seen a ton of wrestling, but wrestling is the kind of thing where you kind of have to see these teams wrestle, or you can't really. And he did bring up Holy Demon Army and some of the other teams that I talked about, and those are probably one of the ones I'd go with if I really had a gun to my head. But I don't think the Bucks being in the conversation is completely absurd. I mean, you have to bring up the Road Warriors, and but I tell you, you don't have to bring up. Like, I don't think the Hart Foundation are in that conversation, and I don't think
God no.
And the Hardys, I don't know. I struggle with the Hardys too, and people were bringing up Edge and Christian, and I don't think you can put them in that conversation either. And a lot of the WWF teams, particularly from the 80s and 90s, they're cool gimmicks, they're memorable, but there really isn't a lot of meat on the bone.
Right.
Name 5 great Hart Foundation matches, 5 great legendary Hart Foundation matches. You're going to struggle. I mean, because the best matches from that era, the best tag team matches from that era were on house shows. They weren't high profile pay-per-view matches. You look at the Killer Bees, they were a tag team in that era for, a number of years. Can you even think of 3 Killer Bees pay-per-view matches, let alone good ones? I mean, you've got Volkov and Sheik at WrestleMania 3, which was just to get Duggan over. Right. I don't even know if they had another 2 versus 2 tag team match.
I'm not sure. Yeah, everything that I remember the Killer Bees is in Survivor Series matches. So yeah, I don't know.
That's what I mean. And it's like those teams, all Demolition, they were a nice little team. All of those teams from that era, people grew up on them. And when you grow up on something, you have it fucks with your memories. It's like there isn't as much meat on the bone with those teams. There just isn't. Try to think of great matches name 5 great Strikeforce matches. I mean, you can't. And I'm not trying to put these teams down. That's when I grew up too. Okay. And I love that era of tag team wrestling, but it doesn't compare to what was going on at the same time in other promotions, namely Crockett and some of the Southern territories. And it doesn't compare to a team like the Bucks, who are going out there having great matches every time they step in a ring all over the world for the last 10 years. It just does not compare. Just the level of good, it just smokes all of these teams that people are bringing up. And again, like Harlem Heat, how many great matches did Harlem Heat have? Dirty Secret is not that many. Okay, but they were an awesome gimmick, a memorable gimmick, and Booker T fucking rules. So people remember it, that it didn't really go down. So teams like that, it's like you just shake your head and you're like, you can't win arguments with people who are looking at their childhood through rose-colored glasses.
Right,
you know what I mean? Right. So you don't bother. And that's, I think, where a lot of the Usos stuff is coming, because you have people who are fans now who are like, and they're WWE fans, and they may not watch a ton of other stuff. And I have no problem with the Usos. I just said they're probably the greatest WWE tag. It's either them or the Rockers, in my view, because I thought the Rockers were phenomenal every time they were given a chance. They just didn't have as many chances. A team like the Usos, they just have more chances.
Right. They're from a different era where you can do that. Yeah, I mean, in the Rockers era, and that, it's exactly what happened. Is that if that team got successful, and it happened with the Hart Foundation too, and one of the guys was clearly better than the other guy, they weren't going to fuck around and keep them in a tag team. They were going to say, "Get out of here!" Like, fuck, Shawn Michaels, you're a single star. Bret Hart, you're a single star. Who cares about the other guy? Like, whereas now, like the Usos, and again, like I said, that's kind of to the Bucks' advantage here in a lot of ways, is that it's like, all right, well, like the Bucks have never been able to kind of go out on their own, so that because of that, they've always been able to be a team. And there wasn't like it wasn't like Matt emerged as like so far and way better than Nick or whatever, where it was like, oh shit, Matt should be a single star. It was just like they've always just been kind of in lockstep, and that's similar to the Usos. So teams like that, I'm always going to sort of favor over teams that had short, maybe memorable but short runs. I'm always going to go with longevity. Like the Briscoes are another interesting team too. I didn't see them come up a lot, and I don't really want to have this conversation go on for another 40 minutes or whatever. Right. But they're a team that, again, like the longevity of them, I think really stands out. And that's even if you cut out, Jay's singles run, where he's a top champion. Like you have to cut that stuff out. And I think that's I said it at the top too. That's the thing I think a lot of people have trouble with when they talk about Edge and Christian. Well, okay, you're giving every credit and everything that Edge and Christian ever did as single stars to them as a tag team, and you can't do that in this conversation. You just have to talk about tag teams. But if you eliminate even Jay Briscoe's single stuff, the Briscoes are also as prolific as the Young Bucks in a lot of ways in terms of having matches since literally 2002 to today with a few year gaps in between there. I mean, every single night, every single Ring of Honor show having really, really good matches, really good stuff. But the thing that I think that puts the Bucks over is that like on their backs, largely emerges AEW. And like, you can't ignore that. You can't ignore that these quote junior spot monkeys that throw super kicks or whatever sold a fuck ton of t-shirts and a fuck ton of tickets and now have, vaulted their careers into AEW. Like, that can't be ignored. Like, not many other tag teams can say, yeah, we were so good and so successful that, the second biggest company in America was created on our backs. Like, that's an important thing that needs to be, despite it, you could say, oh, well, Cody was involved in that and Khan and the right time, right place, whatever. That's what wrestling's all about, is being in the right time, the right place. But there's no denying that if the Bucks aren't the way that they are, AEW doesn't exist. Like, we can agree on that, right? If Cody's whatever Cody is and Kenny is whatever Kenny is and Tony Khan's whatever Tony Khan is, that shit doesn't happen without the Young Bucks, though.
No. And you can make the argument that they're the top drawing act in the company. You may not win. There's an argument for Kenny Omega. There's an argument for Cody. Sure. But it's those three. And it's probably a combination of all, but and the only teams that can really match their longevity is, are like you said, the Briscoes, the Rock and Roll Express. The Usos are getting up there. They've been a team since like 2011 in that company. So it's like, and what's the common theme? It's like what you just talked about. There's no breakout singles guy, so it works to their advantage in that regard, to where they're going to stay together. Because what are you going to do? Have a Jimmy Uso singles run? I mean, it's not going to happen. Matt knows he's nothing without Nick. Jay Briscoe is the closest thing with these four teams to someone who could have been a breakout singles guy, and he was for stretches in ROH. But they never completely forgot about the tag team, and it's always easy to put them back together. And those are four of the most prolific tag teams, of all time. You have the original Fabulous Kangaroos, who have to be mentioned. Again, two guys who were better off together than, one of them going off on their own. So they stayed together for a long time. I'm talking about the original version of the Kangaroos, and that's really going back again to where no one listening have seen them wrestle. So it's like, how do you talk about them? In sports, we have statistics that we can lean on. If we want to talk about, Otto Graham, we at least have statistics we can look at. And at least we have stats now that contextualize the statistics for the era that we can lean on, even if no one alive or very few people alive can intelligently talk about watching Otto Graham throw a football. We can talk about him, but how many people can intelligently talk about the Fabulous Kangaroos without having seen them? I mean, you can't do it. So you kind of have to throw out those teams who teamed, before the mid 60s or even the early 70s, because there's just limited footage and there's not many people around anymore who can talk about them. But all of the teams that stay around and have the longevity to match the Bucks are teams. There's not many of them. And they're all, like you're saying, they lacked the breakout, because you don't keep teams together if you have a breakout singles star, especially in this era where tag teams have been so de-emphasized by the market leader and everybody follows the leader. So, and in Japan, it's always just your great tag teams in Japan, for the most part, are two great singles wrestlers who came together for a couple years, or two great singles.
Holy Demon Army and those sort of guys, which is awesome that we have those, and they are great standout teams. But yeah, it's just because that's sort of the way that All Japan booked at that time, which gave us Kobashi Misawa and Taue and Kawada or whatever, which is awesome that it gave. But it's like those guys, and that's kind of what I struggle with, is like I don't. And maybe that's incorrect on my behalf, and maybe I shouldn't do that. But to me, I don't think tag team when I think about those guys. And it's not because they didn't have great tag matches. Of course, they had incredible tag matches, but they just don't feel, you know what I'm saying? Like, they don't feel like a team. Like Kobashi and Misawa, I think of them as individuals and what they were able to do. They were great as a team. They did incredible stuff as a team. Taue and Kawada, like the same deal. Incredible stuff as teams. Some of the greatest tag matches ever with those guys involved. It's just because they were such prolific figures and such big figures as single stars, it's hard to kind of attribute them to solely a tag team and just kind of melt it down to, oh, well, the Holy Demon Army, that's a team. And it's, I don't know. I struggle with that for some reason.
Yeah. I mean, I understand where you're coming from, but it's like, yeah, it was either two guys in Japan, they'd break them up because they could be single stars, or was one guy giving the other, or it was later on where it was two guys that were already established coming together. So it's just not the same. But yeah, there's plenty of great Japanese teams too that you can throw in the mix if you can get over that mental hurdle that Rich struggles with. But yeah, the bottom line here is, and we weren't planning on this being a segment, is I do think it's fair to include the Bucks in the mix, even if ultimately I wouldn't have them at number one. But like you say, they have so much career ahead of them, which is what really makes it scary. And you can't really envision a singles run for either one of them. You really can't. They know that they need to be together, and it's and now they're a top act in this promotion, and they're doing nothing but adding to their resume still. In this people are loving these Lucha Brothers match. I mean, we're tired of them, but these are, great matches that people are just discovering now. A lot of people this is newly discovered for them, and they're going to keep adding to it. And that this promotion is going to emphasize tag teams, which is going to work in their favor too. So was Case's argument absurd? No way. It was not an absurd argument at all. So, anyway, it's turned into a segment, I guess.
Yeah, it did. I enjoyed it, though. As you can tell, we don't have any shows to actually review. Have some previews coming up and some news to talk about. Shows like this are fun because we've kind of been dragged down in recent years because wrestling companies keep fucking producing so much goddamn content that we have to talk about wrestling and review wrestling shows every single week. But it's kind of fun to just kind of, hey, for 40 minutes, let's talk about shit.
Rich, I am so tired of having an opinion on wrestling matches. I can't review match. I really need a break from reviewing matches.
This week is good. This is a great week to get away from it. I'm so glad that nothing popped up either. I was like, I know the Super J Cup did show up, but like I might watch like Osprey and Amazing Red, and I might watch a few matches, but I was just like, I don't really want to like binge watch all that before the show. It's kind of nice to just kind of feel like, yeah, you know what? I'm just going to talk about news. I'm just going to give my opinion about the wrestling world and big picture level on the show. And it was kind of nice not to have to be like, all right, Tyler Bate and Walter, talk about it, Joe.
Rich, do you ever watch wrestling that we're not going to talk about on the show, right? And think to yourself, oh my God, I can just watch this match and not have to have an opinion on it. Because I do that all the time. Like I'll be watching some promotion that we're not going to talk about or something old or whatever the case. And it feels like there's weight off my shoulders because I'm like, I don't have to watch this match with a critical eye. I can just watch it. I don't have to have an opinion. I don't have to break down the psychology of this match or come up with a star rating. I can just sit here and watch this match with my brain turned off. Do you ever have that thought process?
So I actually have the exact opposite, where if I watch something, I assume and I kind of tell myself I'm wasting myself if I don't have an opinion about this. If I don't tweet that I'm watching, the Royal Rumble 1991, and if I don't, get in on Grapple and throw my rating, I have this weird phobia or this weird fear, or whatever, that like I shouldn't watch wrestling without providing some sort of content back or give my, I think because I'm so trained to like watch that, give opinion, write down opinion, like think about it. Like I don't know that I can turn it off, and it sucks. Like, cause I watch stuff and I should just be like, cool. I try to pop in cause I have a Super J Cup like compilation Blu-ray that when this new one got announced, I was like, you know what? Fuck it. I'm just going to watch like the 1996 or whatever the hell it was, maybe 2000. Yeah. I forget, Super J Cup. And then I was like, oh, I should like do a Patreon series about this, or I should, like write an article about it. And I was like, no, just fucking watch it. Right? Just sit down,
watch it, dummy.
Drink a goddamn beer, and like sit there and fucking watch it without giving it a goddamn opinion. But I can't, and it's like hard. Like I have to tell myself, just fucking watch it, dummy, and don't care what other people like. Don't give your opinion about it. Just fucking watch it. But it's weird. I have trouble with that. So I'm the exact opposite. I always think I'm wasting watching a wrestling show without providing content with it. So.
Yeah. No, I hear you, but it's like I stopped reviewing like MLW and stuff like that a few months back, but I still watch it. But it's like I just watch it for pleasure, and it's like I watched MLW today, and it's like just today I watched it, and there was a Hammerstone versus Go Shiozaki match from Noah that they aired on MLW this week, and I'm like thinking to myself, this is so cool where I don't have to worry about coming up with some kind of hot take on this. I can just watch the match. Because like last week was the worst too. It's like, I know I'm ribbing you and everything, but you're on vacation, you're not around. And it's like, oh my God, these 3 fucking shows. Because you know how it is too. A lot of times we'll review shows, and I'm sure it's the same for you as it is for me. Sometimes I won't have a strong opinion on a fucking match. So I'll just kick it to you. I'll be like, Rich,
right. Oh yeah, absolutely.
Yeah. And I'm like, Rich will take this one. You know what I mean? And we never talk about that, but it's like an unspoken thing. I'm like, I really don't have anything to say about this fucking Zack Sabre Jr. match. I am just going to say, I kind of liked it. Rich, what did you think? And I'm going to pray that he talks for like 2 minutes. And then when he's done talking, I'm going to transition to the next match because I don't want to talk about it. But when you're by yourself for 3 hours, you have to have something to say about every fucking match. And, you know, I shouldn't say this on the air, but I feel like last week's show fucking sucked. Because when I got to that portion of the show, first of all, I had to re-record a bunch of that too, which is even fucking worse because it was shit. God, I don't even want to get into it. But it's like I had to have a fucking take on every fucking match on all 3 of those shows. And half of my takes, at least in my brain, and I don't know how they came out, were, oh, yeah, it was all right. And I didn't have anything else to add. Right. So I'm just contriving shit and speaking off the fucking... I went on this long rant about fucking grapple-heavy wrestling and how it's the easiest to do. And I'm like, as I'm on that rant, I'm thinking people are going to rake me over the coals for this. But I have nothing else to say. So I have to contrive these fucking... I just hated last week's show outside of the first 15 minutes. In full disclosure. So if it sucks, I'm admitting that it sucked. And by the way, I had to do it all twice, which made it suck even worse than it sucked the first time around. But the point here is we don't have to review shit this week. And I feel free. And we could just talk and analyze things and get in trouble for the fucking Brit Rest stuff at the end.
Absolutely. Yeah, we're still going to get in trouble. Don't worry. That will definitely happen.
That will never go away.
No. We will always find a way to get in trouble every single week. So as I said, we got plenty to go on this week. We're going to talk about the Anthem purchase of AXS TV. New Japan Destruction has some shows coming up, so we're going to talk about that on their Destruction tour. Also, Clash of Champions, Joe, happening this Sunday. WWE Clash of Champions. I know everyone's rearing up for that preview.
Is Midnight Express on that show? Clash of Champions,
they are not.
They taking on Ranger Ross and Junkyard Dog or something on that one? What's going on there?
Ranger Ross from the ceiling. I remember that was a great. Was that Ranger Ross that did that? He came from the ceiling, right?
No, I think
Clash
Cobra.
of Champion.
Didn't Cobra come
down? No, well, he may have.
Did Ranger Ross ever rappel from the ceiling? I don't know that he did.
I swore he did. Yeah, but maybe I'm mixing him up with somebody else.
I think I don't think they were doing that. No, you could be right though. I don't know.
It's one of the Clash of Champions I went.
That was one of the things. Craig Pittman come down from the ceiling.
I don't think it was Craig, but I swore it was Ranger Ross, but I could be wrong. Yeah, no, I would definitely 100% because there was a Clash of Champions
Fort Bragg
at Fort Bragg, yeah, when he was against the terrorists.
Right. Which was Fidel Sierra in one of his many gimmicks. The Cuban assassin, Fidel Sierra, the terrorist.
And I swore he repels from the top of the arena. The large Fort Bragg, North Carolina arena that they came to. It was the Ritz Epps Fitness Center.
Yeah. And it was like 130 degrees in the building. And
you could just see the glistening sweat coming from everybody. Yeah,
and it was Ranger Ross, a legitimate fucking soldier, in front of a crowd of soldiers against a man named a terrorist. Now, see, that's pro wrestling to me.
Yeah, there's
that.
You know who the baby face is, and you know who the heel is. None of this shades of gray bullshit. Yeah,
and it's cheesy and it's a little trashy, and wrestling should be a little cheesy and a little trashy. It really should. So yeah, if you remember him coming from the ceiling, I'll take your word for it.
I could be wrong, but I swear to God he came from the ceiling in this very note. But we're going to talk about Clash of Champions, of course, preview that. And then last but not least, we're going to get ourselves in trouble talking about the Rev Pro, Josh Bodom, Sha Samuels referee story. But before that, Joe, we do have to let people know that this episode of the Voice Wrestling Flagship Podcast is sponsored by our friends at MyBookie. And Joe, do you want to tell us about MyBookie?
Oh, I'm telling us about MyBookie, huh? I thought, I slapped pause. I thought you were handling MyBookie this week. I would love to tell you about MyBookie.
Well, you're the gambler, man. You know what I mean? I'm trying to learn, and I want you to sell me on gambling with MyBookie.
Okay. Well, then let me ask you a question.
Okay. Go ahead.
If you found $100 bill on the street, would you pick it up or would you keep walking?
I'd pick it up.
Okay. Well, then, Rich, I know you're a big-time sports fan.
Absolutely.
Right? And I know you were totally on top of week 1 NFL, even in Iceland this week. Okay. So why do you
you joke, but I went to there was a bar that was playing the games, and it was like, in Iceland too. It was great timing for those games. It was just like a nighttime. It was like, what was it? I forget it was day or night. I forget what it was, but there was like a UFC fight that was on at a weird time. But I think that was on a weird time in America. But regardless, I was watching week 1 football even in Iceland. I was at a bar and there was on the TV. It was great.
Yeah, and I know you're a great prognosticator, so why do you keep picking winners and not betting on them? Listen, I got a story. I was watching the Cowboys-Giants game this week with my wife, Sherry. She comes from a family of Cowboys fans, okay? And it was like, they're nice people, though. They're not like,
sure.
It was worrisome when we started dating. I'm like, I don't know if I could do this. Cowboy fans, you know what I mean? But
they're not like those Cowboy fans. They're just Cowboy fans.
They're not. Her father's
good,
very
good.
mild-mannered and a nice man, and he talks about, Roger Staubach, and
that's a good guy. That's okay, cool, yeah.
But Roger the Dodger, But yeah, so we're watching this Cowboys-Giants game. It's 14-0, and hand to God, Rich, you could ask TLB the next time you talk to her. I turned to her and I said, "Why are you even worried about that? They're going to win this game 35-17. Okay, Giants stink. They can't cover anybody. It's going to be what's the final score, Rich? 35-17. So I ask again. We're great prognosticators here. Why aren't we betting on? That's why I, Rich, go to my bookie. And I know that you do too. It's fast, it's easy, and they pay when you win. Because let's face it, when you're betting, being paid when you win is just as important as who you're betting on.
Yes.
It's important to get your money. And a lot of these, a lot of these other places or shit, you get paid when you win with my bookie. Okay, so I wouldn't tell you to bet with them if they weren't the best. So, Rich, you need to do the smart thing. Okay, you need to. If you're going to bet this football season, I know you're going to, you need to bet with my bookie. And you know that you could do live betting on my bookie. Did you know that, Rich?
I did, yeah. Or now I definitely know, but I didn't know before. But yeah, no, absolutely.
You can bet after kickoff. Live betting's a big thing now, and they've got it, okay?
Yeah, halftime betting. I love that. I love kind of following that when people are like, all right, look, like you said there, where the Giants Cowboys, like, I love following people that are just like, look, I know what the score is right now, but I'm telling people, it's going to change. It's going to go. You know that what's going to happen. You know that X team is going to beat Y in the second half and totally blow the doors off this. And that is awesome. You get great odds on that on those bets as well. So
listen, if for some reason you had the overhyped Browns this week, okay, by halftime you could have thrown a couple bucks on the Titans and middled yourself.
Absolutely,
live betting on my bookies. So if you're kind of guy that likes to bet a little, win a lot, they got parlays, Rich. You can bet the whole card and throw $1 on it at 1,000,000,000 to 1 odds. And just try to win the whole shebang in one shot. So join now, and my bookie will double your first deposit. Did you hear me, Rich? They will double your first deposit. All you have to do that is use the promo code VOICES to activate that offer. That's promo code VOICES, VOICES. Visit mybookie.ag right now. Use the promo code VOICES. You play, you win, you get paid.
Oh, right. There you go. Double your first deposit. That's a hell of a deal. Fuck. $10, they put 20 in? That's not bad.
What a cheapskate.
I'm just going to do the dollar parlays, like you said. I want to do 10 $1 parlays. One of them's going to hit, and I'm going to be a billionaire. So fuck off.
You can't put that $100 bill that you're finding on the street into your MyBookie account.
No.
Double it for you, man.
You're right. That's not a bad deal because if they're doubling it, that is tempting. It is very tempting. I'm trying to figure out how to dive into doing a little bit more NFL betting, and this time it's tempting, especially the double your deposit. Because so I'm 500 in. That's
Let's bet against the Browns. They're overhyped.
I was going to say that's the bet against the Browns and what you always say, and I know it at my hometown as well. Bet against the Bears as well because people are fucking all in on the Bears. They're like a Super Bowl favorite betting wise, and I watch them and I'm just like not feeling it. Nah, he stinks. He's garbage.
Can you believe the Bears were 9-1 to win the Super Bowl?
I was looking at that. I was going to find a way to see if I could bet. My bookie doesn't do that, but I can thankfully with my bookie bet against the Bears. But I was looking if there was a way to bet against the Bears because you know what I mean, like short the Bears hype. Like, is there a way to do that? Because when they were 9-1, I was like, you are out of your fucking.
Well,
mind.
you're not going to get 9-1 after that Trubisky performance.
No, I needed it before the season. Yeah,
and you're not going to get the Browns at 14-1 either now after what they did against the Titans. And but you know what we're doing here? We're kind of we're blowing one of my lead topics on the NFL Intelligentsia, which returns this week.
Oh. I didn't know that.
Patreon.com/Voices of Wrestling, $5 tier, the NFL Intelligentsia, critically acclaimed, breaking it all down every week. And one of my lead topics, Rich, is the overhyped Bears and the overhyped Browns, which I wrote most of that segment before week 1 started, okay? And because the football gods love me, they both look like dog shit. It would have been really hard to do that segment if the Browns won 28-3. But both of those teams looked awful. And
Trubisky was just throwing it off his offensive linemen's heads and couldn't throw it 5 feet. So, yeah, it's perfect.
Nothing could have happened better for me because now that segment is just going to look, it's going to sound incredible because they both looked as awful as I think that they're. Look, I don't think they're going to be all, but, they looked as bad as I needed them to look for that segment to come off well. But, yes, the NFL Intelligentsia returns this week. Patreon.com/Voices of Wrestling. Jovember to Remember marches on. I just put up episode 4 I guess by the time people listen to this, earlier this week, and episode 5 might be out by the time you're listening to this, as we transition from 1992 to 1993. And Rich has something in the fucking... you got a little project going. Is that what's this thing you're doing? You're doing something with the Iceland.
Something interesting. Yeah, we'll see. You know, I don't want to spoil the surprise to people, but check it out. It'll be out hopefully maybe by the time a lot of you guys listen to this, but at least a day after you guys listen to this. It'll something special, a little surprise for everybody who has been following along with my adventures in various countries in Iceland and all that sort of stuff. So
it's
stay tuned for that.
It's technically still summer. The boys of summer. Are we putting the kibosh? Are we moving on to something else there?
Yeah, I've moved on.
Okay,
yeah,
so
I don't want to watch any more Summer Slams. That's unfortunately, I've watched 3 additional Summer Slams, but I just don't have the heart to record any of those. So maybe I will. I don't, but probably not. It's just like,
pick it up. Why don't you pick it up next SummerSlam season with where you left off?
Exactly. That's probably what I'll do. But there's a few other projects in the hopper as well. Good stuff happening at patreon.com/voicewrestling, no doubts. But I do like the double dip there where the NFL Intelligentsia can help you on my bookie, though. That's synergy. That's hashtag synergy.
I give picks every week.
That's perfect.
I give picks every. You know what my best bet was this week, and I made sure that I let everybody know in the office Slack, so nobody thinks I'm full of shit. My best bet this week was the Baltimore Ravens -6.5. You could have given Miami 49.5.
They won by quite a bit more than that. So.
You know, if you listen to Joe Lanza and you go to mybookie.ag and double your deposit, okay, you're in good shape here. I'm predicting Dallas Cowboys scores to the number, and my best bet this week covered by 50 points. So, you know, NFL Intelligentsia, $5 tier.
Good stuff. All right, let's get to it here. Anthem has bought AXS. Here is what the press release states. It's the opening paragraph of it. Anthem Sports and Entertainment, a global multi-platform media company, today, and this was earlier in the week, September 9th, announced it has acquired a majority interest in HDNet LLC, a parent of the widely distributed U.S. television network AXS TV and HDNet Movies, and will assume operating management of the 2 popular channels that cater to music, sports, entertainment, and lifestyle audiences. The deal also includes AXS TV's extensive library of own programming, including wrestling, MMA, and entertainment content. There's a bunch of other kind of nuts and bolts in that press release, but that's the important part right there, that Anthem Sports, which most people know if you don't, they're the company that owns Impact Wrestling. They have acquired a majority interest in AXS TV. If you follow wrestling as well, you know that AXS TV airs New Japan Wrestling. So that will be a nice little wrinkle to this. We're going to get to that, but we had a lot to unpack with this. We'll start out with the first, and that is Impact Wrestling. Now with this, we'll be moving to AXS TV. They'll be off of Pursuit. They'll move to AXS. We don't know what day, what time, anything of that, but we know that they obviously will no longer be on Pursuit. They will move to AXS TV. And before we kind of get into all the other details of this Anthem purchase and the AXS layoffs and everything that's kind of coming with it and all the kind of the repercussions and secondary things that can kind of happen from this, start at the top. Impact Wrestling, they stay alive, and they move to AXS TV. What are your thoughts on that?
Okay, so we know that this deal was it took many months to come together. We reported on it back in June, and
oh no, you were wrong. No, Joe, you were so wrong. Remember?
You know, it's people are always telling me I'm wrong, but I'm always it always feels like I'm right. I don't know, but
we got sources. We have good sources, and we know what we're doing here. Like if we go with if we say something, it's time to start believing us sometimes.
Rich doesn't want to be a news site. He just doesn't want to do it, so we don't do it. We get some information. But anyway, we did that back in June. Patreon.com/Voices of Wrestling, $5 tier. You also get breaking news updates that we don't do for free on this show and don't put out on the Twitter. But the deal was in the works even longer than that. We were just the first ones to talk about it. And at that point in time, the press release was actually drafted back in June. That's something that no one has talked about yet either, because we know people who saw the press release. So that's how close the deal was to getting done in June. And if you remember, Impact had manipulated their taping schedule based on the idea that it was going to be done and that they were going to be on AXS TV at some point in the summer. Then there was a holdup. That holdup, of course, has been worked out now as the deal is official. Steve Harvey got involved somehow.
That's the best part of the press release.
Yeah,
that Steve, as we all predicted, Steve Harvey. And this is the final paragraph. I should just I'll bring it up real quick here. Joining as an investor is entertainer, producer, and businessman Steve Harvey, who will also enter into a strategic agreement for content development and promotion of Anthem's portfolio of channels. Steve Harvey Global will have a seat on the board of directors of Anthem. So, yeah, of course, as we all predicted that Steve Harvey would have, Steve Harvey is going to have a meeting where he talks about Impact Wrestling. You know what I mean? It's unbelievable.
Yeah, that's the thing. And that's why I think it's a little unfair that people are saying, oh, well, Anthem couldn't find a TV station for Impact. So, they went out and bought a television station for Impact and then laid off 40 people, which we're going to get. Listen, I think Impact is part of this, but this is obviously a much bigger business deal than simply buying a television home for the wrestling brand that they own. So I think that analysis of it is a little bit unfair, but we'll get to the layoffs and stuff because I think that's that's obviously a terrible facet of the story. But yeah, so Impact is going to air on AXS and at some point, probably relatively soon. And this, it took months and months for all this to happen. This is obviously very good for Impact because there are weeks, as we've talked about ad nauseum, that they're doing less than 5,000 viewers on Pursuit, right? Because it's not tracking on Nielsen, which means it's sub 5,000. So they're doing anywhere from 1,000 to 12,000 viewers a week on Pursuit. I think the biggest number I ever saw was about 12,000. And then on Twitch, they're doing a couple thousand more. Some weeks it's like 3,500. Some weeks it's like 10,000. I think they top out, 8, 9, 10,000. So basically, being generous, there's some weeks where there's like 25,000 people watching Impact, in the Impact Wrestling show on, Friday nights or whatever. Now on AXS, we saw reports that the New Japan show, the last time I saw any kind of numbers, because they do not subscribe to Nielsen, they have their own service that they use, was in the low 6 figures. So if you figure if Impact can even approach what New Japan is doing, obviously there's the potential there to have, 10 times as many eyes. If you figure they can do 100,000 viewers on AXS, if New Japan is doing, 150 to 200,000 viewers, if you believe those numbers, they can, get 10 times as many people with their eyeballs on the product on AXS. This is no question a positive move in terms of exposure and in terms of how many people are going to be viewing Impact on a weekly basis from Pursuit and Twitch, which is as low as you can get without being on television or having any exposure whatsoever. And this is the first move for Impact that has been a positive one in terms of going somewhere better than where they're leaving since they left Fox Sports Net to go to Spike. Would you agree with that?
Absolutely, 100%. And that's there's been movement downward from everything.
Yes.
Yeah, obviously, Fox Sports Net to Spike was tremendous. That was a huge boost at the time. I mean, Spike was a huge network at the time. Like, it's kind of crazy to think of that because now it's just completely, it's not even around anymore, right? I don't even think Spike is anything anymore. It might have been rebranded as some other shit, but yeah, it's the Paramount Network or something stupid like that. It doesn't matter. It's completely irrelevant now, but at that time it wasn't. It was a huge deal. Spike was a big channel at that time. So the move from Fox to Spike was huge. And then obviously it went from Spike to Destination America, which was a huge downgrade. And then from Destination America to Pop, which was again another big downgrade. And now from Pop to Pursuit, which was the lowest of grades that we can talk about. I mean, that was just an absolute fucking unmitigated disaster, the Pursuit thing. Yeah. And now finally, for the first time, like you said, since the Fox Sports thing, Pursuit to AXS is a step up. Now, AXS is a step down probably from Pop. AXS is probably a step down from Destination America in terms of pure
households,
pure households, the amount of people that actually get the channel or whatnot. But I think the one thing that is an asset for them and why I do think it's more of a positive than a negative is that AXS has built an audience that obviously enjoys consuming wrestling on some level. Some people know, and there's a wrestling nerds that listen to this show that watch New Japan on AXS, but there are a lot of people that we know, and we've heard from people as well, that watch New Japan and follow New Japan solely from AXS. Yes. So AXS has built up an audience of people that know, hey, when I turn on AXS, sometimes they have wrestling on it, and I like consuming wrestling on AXS TV. We know that, and that's good. And that is where it benefits a lot more than even a Pop TV, which was a channel that just had no relevancy for wrestling whatsoever.
Right.
And Destination America kind of the same level as well. They were able to kind of keep and maintain some of their audience, but come on, it was Destination America. Like it wasn't, it just wasn't relevant to wrestling fans on any level whatsoever. And Pursuit, I mean, that's not relevant to anybody except for, I guess, like, you know, Babe Winkleman and some fucking Fishers or whoever the fuck is on that channel these days. That's a real guy, by the way. Do you know Babe Winkleman? Do you remember him?
Can't say I do.
Oh, he used to be on like, so I would watch something on Saturday mornings on ESPN. Back when ESPN didn't just have wall to wall like great content, and he was a fisher and he would have a fishing show. I think it was on ESPN or ESPN2 or whatever. It was awful. It was terrible. I wanted to watch something at like 9 o'clock and he was on from like 8. And it was just Babe Winkleman sitting in a fucking boat talking about muskies or some shit. And I hated it. And I still hate fishing to this day.
Those are the days.
Probably because of him, yeah.
Yeah, those were the days when ESPN in the mornings would have fishing shows and workout shows.
Right.
Remember Denise Austin? Do you remember Denise
absolutely.
Austin?
Yeah, a lot of spandex and yeah.
Who was the Hispanic guy who had the show after her? He had like he had puffy hair. What the hell was his name? This is gonna bother me now. Body by Gabriel or something like that. Or
all right, I looked up ESPN puffy hair Hispanic workout guy. Let's see if this comes up. I got nothing. Yeah, I'll keep looking though if I could try to figure this out.
Body by something or A Body's in Motion. That's what the show was called.
Bodies in Motion.
Give me that guy's name right now. It was
all right.
Show was
Bodies
called
in Motion. Oh, I remember this one. Yeah. Was it Gilad Janklowitz?
Gilad. That's his name.
Right.
He might not have been
He's
Hispanic.
Israeli.
Okay.
Not Hispanic.
Rich, it was 30 years ago. Cut me a break.
Right.
I was a child. I don't know accents back then. Okay. So, Gilad was his name, right?
Yeah, it was Gilad Janklowitz, but I think they just called him Gilad. I believe they just called him Gilad.
Yeah. So his name was Gilad. He had an accent. I was 10. You can listen, okay? I thought he might have been a Latino. I don't know. But then you had Denise Austin, and you had Gilad with Bodies in Motion, and like you said, you'd have like fishing shows, and they were the worst. You know why these fishing shows were bad? Because fishing is bad.
Fishing fucking stinks.
So watching people fish is the only thing that actually fishing. It's
watching a mild close-up of Babe Winkleman putting on a lure and telling me why this is the best lure to get like, you know, muskies in November. And I'm like, I don't fucking care. Like, just show me college basketball highlights. Like, I think I was like SportsCenter wasn't wall to wall. Like it only came on at like certain times.
That's right.
So I wanted to watch like the 9 a.m. SportsCenter. So I jump in at, 8:50 or whatever. And I have to watch the last 10 minutes of fucking Babe Winkleman talking about his goddamn lures. And I hated it.
Yeah. Or Gilad doing stretches and jumping jacks and shit. That's what ESPN would show. That and Scholastic Sports America, which, that seemed like that aired on a loop a lot of the times where it was like high school sports nonsense. And it was all that was ESPN programming in like the early 90s, right? Yeah. I mean, we're just nailing it. But yeah, so
what a babe Denise Austin was, by the way. I'm looking up
Denise Austin.
Right that's she made a lot of boys mad, I'm sure.
Absolutely. I mean, I'm sure people were jacking it to Denise Austin waiting for SportsCenter. There's no doubt in my mind, It was that like late 80s, early 90s too, though, with the leg warmers and like the fucking the onesies that they were exercising in. But yeah, she was a big one. But what the hell were we even talking about?
I was talking about how Pursuit nobody cares about Pursuit. So again, like AXS has built an audience that understands and watches wrestling. Like, yeah, there are your Sammy Hagar rocking whatever the fuck World Tour, whatever, and you're Nothing But Trailers and all that sort of stuff. But they've built a wrestling audience in some way, shape, or form. So that is where, for the first time in a while as well, that they're going to a channel that at least has some infrastructure, or I guess we'll get to in a sec, some infrastructure for wrestling. So that is a benefit to them as well. They're not just going to another random ass channel that nobody has ever heard of. People that follow wrestling, that watch wrestling, have heard of AXS, know about AXS, and presumably know already if their cable network or if their cable provider has it or not. So that's another benefit as well. Other than it being a jump from Pursuit, is it's also a jump to a channel that again has established wrestling content on it.
Yeah, I'll tell you, Gilad was an absolute unit. You looking at this?
Oh, absolutely. Yeah, that mustache. Oh my God! Yeah.
Christ, this man's back, his back alone. I was watching NXT UK Cardiff the other day, and TLB walked in during the Cesaro match, and she noted that Cesaro has a very attractive back. So there's another guy with it. I guess it's those fucking a broad back with the muscles, which appeals to the lady. They like those big backs. You got a big back, Rich?
I don't think I do.
Yeah.
I might have to get one. Yeah, I can probably make that happen if I need be. But I'll ask the nurse when she comes if she likes. Big
She was into the Cesaro. I got to tell you, she stuck around for that match. She liked how he was tossing around Ilya. Like maybe he just threw him straight over the ropes. See that spot?
Oh yeah, absolutely. Yeah.
She was like, "Wow, he's doing some impressive things, and he has a very nice back. This is a very attractive man." I was like, "All right, she's into the Cesaro. All right, I can't kill her. What am I supposed to say? You know, I guess he's not a terrible looking guy. He's a good looking guy, right? He's
a good looking dude. Yeah, we had a similar discussion in the house about Tyler Bate was over with the ladies at my household.
Bate was.
So, yeah.
Okay, yeah,
I get it. That's fine.
Even next to Walter, where he looked like a small child.
Yeah, that's fine. I think they liked,
they didn't
they're
mind
not Vince McMahon. They don't care that he's short. They don't give a shit.
I don't know. Some women like tall guys. I don't know.
They do, but I think he's taller than them. I mean, every woman I know, or I'm married to a 5'2" woman, so it's not hard to be taller than her. So
right. He's still going to be bigger than her in a picture, right? Like if he's got the arm around her.
Right.
Yeah, even if he's like 5'5" or whatever it is. But yeah, no, so this is the first. This is the Impact's finally making a positive step, even like you say, this is less households than some of their previous stops. It just blows away what they were on previously. And like you're saying, there's a wrestling history on this network. So you're already, and even with the WOW show as well, because the talk in June was potentially constructing a block and putting New Japan, Impact, and WOW all on the same night. And then hoping that those Venn diagrams cross enough to where maybe a New Japan fan will check out Impact, maybe a WOW fan will check out Impact, and vice versa. Maybe you come for Impact and you stick around for WOW or whatever the fuck. So yeah, there's advantages there too. Whereas on Pop or Destination America or Pursuit, if you're coming for Impact, you're leaving when Impact's over. And the guy who's watching a fishing show probably isn't sticking around for Impact.
Right, just a completely different audience as well. So yeah, there's a lot of benefits to this AXS move, but so I think one thing that's interesting too is we've seen this a lot with Impact in terms of moving TV networks, moving time slots, moving days. Like we always looked at, and there was a topic many years ago in the show when it would happen on almost a yearly basis. They would move to a different time, a different day, a new network or whatever. Is that you lose a lot of audience with a day changeover, and Impact might be at a point where I don't know that they can really lose any more audiences with moving to a new network or anything like that. But if you're if you're in the boardroom or whatever, you're next to Steve Harvey, Joe, and they say, hey, what time should we put Impact Wrestling on? Or you're smart in the wrestling business and say, okay, what's the best slot for Impact? Do you just keep it where they're at? Do you move it to a different day? Because I mean, that lineup is getting full. I mean, with AEW in the mix and now NXT in the mix, like, what is the day that you choose? What's the day that you can kind of get away from and maybe use if you're Impact Wrestling?
I don't think it matters because again, no matter what they do now at this point, they're gonna increase their viewership by tenfold. So if they can get a block going, then get a block going. I think that would be the best idea. I do agree with stacking the shows. I think that would be the best approach. But look, Anthem owns the channel now, so whatever they want to do, they're going to be able to do. There's not any opposing forces here. I think that's important to note too. So, they can do whatever they want. They don't have to pitch a day and a time. They can just pick it.
All right. So now there's a lot of other stuff that we have to get into with this as well. So now we know Impact, good move for them. They're moving to a new network, a new time slot, presumably new audiences. There is the matter of New Japan Pro Wrestling on AXS TV, and that is a big thing that we need to talk about because New Japan has not played nice with Impact Wrestling for many years, largely on the heels of guys like Okada and to a lesser extent Naito and Tanahashi and many others that had a really bad experience when they went to TNA. And people may forget it if you haven't been following New Japan Wrestling or that level of wrestling for many years, you might not know that these two had a great relationship at a time. New Japan and TNA Wrestle Kingdoms were filled with TNA talent. New Japan talent was going to TNA for excursions. Like there was a very good relationship between these two many moons ago. That has been to the point where most of the guys won't even talk about TNA at this point, don't even want to talk about it. Okada shrugs off questions about it. We've heard internally that they just do not want to work with Impact on any level whatsoever. They just have no need, no desire, no want to. And it's even with new leadership, even with new people in charge, it doesn't matter to them. It is still the same company. It's the company that wronged so many of their top guys. And if guys like Okada, who hold a lot of power in that company, just don't want to fucking deal with them and really hold a grudge on it, rightfully or wrongfully so, they're going to have to work together now at this point. AXS TV is now owned by Anthem. Impact Wrestling will be on AXS TV. New Japan is on AXS TV right now. Now, Joe, do you think these two can coexist without coexisting or without having some sort of that can't continue, right? They have to get along on some level, right?
Well, here's the thing. And we heard from 3 different sources that the New Japan contract with AXS runs until January 2021, which means another year plus at minimum that they're under contract to air on AXS. And
those are independent sources too. Those are 3 people that I don't think regularly talk to each other.
No, we
what I
got
mean?
It from 2 people, and then a third person popped in and said, yeah, those 2 people are right. And so I'm more than confident with what I'm being told from those 3 people that it's until January 2021. But the thing about this is, and I tweeted this out, and Twitter is just, God, I fucking know Twitter. People will misunderstand anything. I mean, they really will. But I tweeted this out, and it's like the one thing, Japan sends AXS the tape, but then AXS is in total control of the production of the New Japan Pro Wrestling on AXS show, which includes the announcers, picking the announcers, hiring the announcers, all that jazz. AXS controls the production of the show that they air on their network, which is the tape they get from Japan. When I said that AXS is in total control of New Japan's production, I obviously meant the television show that airs on AXS. I did not mean that AXS is that Anthem is now in control of New Japan's production in Japan. Idiots. But yet you'll still have morons, complete idiots on Twitter who are like, whoa. I mean, what goes through these people's heads, Rich? I mean, you get 280 characters, and it's like you can't you got to be efficient to some point. You have to assume people are going to be smart enough but they're not. Rich, they're not smart enough. They're never smart enough. It's always some kind of misunderstanding, and you always have to clarify yourself. It's just frustrating. But my point here is, for the purposes of this show, that Anthem is now in control, effectively, of the production of New Japan's show on AXS. They can change the announcers if they want. You can very easily get Josh Matthews calling G1 matches. That could very easily happen at the snap of Anthem's fingers. They control that. And I think that's what you're alluding to, where New Japan already has beef with Impact, right? How will they respond to Anthem if they do want to make a change and get rid of who's doing it now? Kevin Kelly, and is it Kelly and
so it really, so what's been weird lately is I think that they have just been using, I don't know if they've been re-recording it, and like I said, I don't watch a ton of the AXS one because I watch all New Japan as it's happening. Like I DVR most of the New Japan and AXS, but I don't want to watch this. And now what's actually been almost to their detriment for me personally is that there was a while there where they were like 3-4 months behind when they had Jim Ross and Barnett or those guys record it, and I would be like, oh cool, you know what, I'm gonna actually go back and watch this G1 match that I completely forgot about. But now they're almost solely caught up. Yeah, where like this week the Royal Quest match was on there, and I was like, I'm not gonna watch. I just watched that like a week ago. Like I don't need to watch that again. So I think that what they've been,
but it is good that they're caught up because people who
absolutely you're gonna lose me. Right, you're going to lose me as a viewer, but now that there are people that can watch New Japan through AXS, and that's awesome. Yeah. That's really, really cool. So that's fine. So what I think they've been doing lately is just straight up taking whatever New Japan World has, English commentary-wise, and just using that.
Right.
Because I don't think Kevin Kelly's got time to, in a week, re-record audio, and why would he when they're already doing English commentary or whatnot? So that's kind of been the way they've been doing it. Is like, all right, cool, you guys already provide us with English commentary and video. Sweet, we'll just air it. And then we can air it on a 5-day delay or a 2-day delay or shit, some things are airing on a 1-day delay. Yeah, and we're good to go, and that's fine. That's perfect. That works for us. We don't have to re-record audio.
There were G1 shows that were later that day,
right?
Like hours, just a few hours later. But yeah, but the point here is, if Anthem wants to change that, they can.
Right. There's no reason for Anthem to say, oh, yeah, we're going to keep doing that. They can say, we're going to have Josh Matthews re-record all this and we're going to air it 8 months later. I mean, or we're going to chop it up and make it into a 30-minute,
yes,
clipped audio, clip show. Like, I don't know what that contract says. We don't see what the contract is, but beyond New Japan sending the tape to AXS, I'm of the idea that AXS really before was able to just kind of do whatever they wanted with that. I don't know. Do they have to show?
No, they are. They control the production.
That's what I mean. So there's a case that can be made that Anthem might say, oh, cool. We could use a 30-minute, New Japan show in between Impact and WoW. Or like they could do that. Like the idea that everything is just going to be business as usual, and that's what we saw a lot of. It's like, well, all AXS does is play Kevin Kelly. They just play the New Japan world. Like
that's what they did before.
In the old world. Yeah, right. But now they're owned by a different company that might have different ideas.
Which is a good transition. Which is a good transition because the people who were making those decisions to just run those tapes are now fired. They've been laid off. And Anthem has purchased AXS and they laid off the entire Dallas office. So, and a lot of the people in that Dallas office were the people who were making those production decisions for New Japan and other programming on the channel as well. And a lot of those people who were laid off were very important people in terms of backing and supporting having wrestling on AXS through the years, whether it going all the way back to the ROH days in 2009 when it was HDNet. Okay. AXS has had ROH. They obviously used to have, mixed martial arts, Japanese promotions like Dream and whatnot in those days through today where, they have obviously New Japan Pro Wrestling and WoW and all of those people from the Dallas office who have been supportive of wrestling and were making these production decisions and whatnot for the wrestling programming are now looking for work because this is just one of those deals where it's a corporate buyout and you're not going to keep two of everyone in the positions and you're going to keep your people and you're going to get rid of the people you're inheriting more often than not in those scenarios. And unfortunately, all of those people lost their jobs. And a lot of those people were key contacts for people in the wrestling media world and everything else. And and it's unfortunate. It's a shitstorm. And, it's one of the byproducts of sort of these corporate buyout takeovers, whatever you want to call them, is it becomes redundant. You don't need to have two of every position. So the old people are out, the new people are in. And we don't know what that means in terms of the future of wrestling on AXS beyond. Obviously, Impact is going to be safe because Anthem owns Impact and the net. So, I mean, that's not in dispute. Maybe they don't want New Japan. We don't know if they even want New Japan. Now, you would think that they would. You'd think that you'd want some, like I said, you think you'd want a whole block and a whole night devoted to wrestling. It just makes sense. But we don't know. This kind of is the unknown. And when the deal first went down, I thought all of this would be great. Not only it's obviously great for Impact Wrestling. In a vacuum, this deal is awesome for Impact Wrestling. I thought it would be great for all of wrestling, though. Because, all right, great. We have another, wrestling promotion that shares an ownership interest with the network that they're on. And there's already wrestling up. But now I'm not so sure. I mean, they laid off all of these people who were great supporters of pro wrestling. And I don't know how Anthem is going to handle it. They did the same thing when they bought Fight Network and laid off all of those people. So what's your take on that? Do you think that they are going to because, listen, AXS was firmly behind New Japan and WoW. Rich, we can't wake up without 19 emails from AXS, from the press side of that company, with something to do with New Japan and WoW on a daily basis. You know that.
Oh, absolutely. Yeah. So whether it's pictures, videos, news releases, press releases.
On this press call, here's some pictures you can use. Here's an early version of the show. Here's a link if your people don't get access, they can watch the show. I mean, they used to do
yeah, we all have to use past tense here
because we don't know now. I mean, because all of those people or a lot of those people are no longer with the company. But AXS treated us and other, media outlets just tremendously over the years. I mean, to the point of, you couldn't, like I said, multiple emails a day. So they were firmly behind wrestling and their wrestling products. We don't know what's going to happen now with Anthem beyond Impact. Maybe they let that New Japan deal run out. Maybe there is bad blood there, or maybe it continues to work out the way it has. What do you you think about all that?
Yeah, no, to me, yeah, I had the initial kind of timeline that you had of when initially the news came out. I said, this is great. AXS is awesome. Like, that's a great partner to have for Impact Wrestling. If the backbone of AXS, which we've seen the backbone there. We've seen that they've in a lot of ways grown that New Japan on AXS. I mean, there was times where they weren't getting those numbers, and they've grown, and they've put some muscle behind it. They put some promotion behind it, and they got to the point where that New Japan on AXS is a big show. It's a big time show in the wrestling world. No, is it doing numbers on the same level that AEW is going to do, or that WWE is doing on a weekly basis? No, but it was doing pretty solid numbers, like surprisingly good numbers. I mean, in our circles, like we said, not a lot of people watch it, but we heard from a lot of people independently that only follow New Japan through AXS. I have friends that only watch it through AXS. Like, there are casual fans who only watched New Japan on AXS and really did get involved in it, and that's cool. And a lot of that is because AXS did a great job of promoting it, a great job of building, grassroots campaigns in terms of stuff, doing emails blasts, doing social media stuff, like all that sort of stuff was really good. And so when I had the idea of like, oh, cool, Impact is going to AXS, well, that's great. Like, they have that backbone now to promote Impact. But then when we saw that, okay, this guy's gone, okay, she's gone, all right, he's gone too. Oh, okay, oh, the whole Dallas office is gone. Like, it was kind of one by one where we're like, ooh, that's a big blow. Oh, that's not good. Or, oh shit, that guy too. Oh, the whole office is gone. Okay, well, now I'm at the point where we're, as of this recording, we did this 2 days ago. I would have said, this is a great deal. I can't wait to see what happens. But now I'm really wondering, okay, look, everything that was great about AXS, everything that AXS gave you, all the advantages that AXS came with, a lot of that has been lost now by laying off a lot of that support staff. And Anthem runs very lean operations. We know that from Impact. We know that from when they bought the Fight Network, is that they're very, very, very lean. They make these deals and they acquire a lot of debt when they make these deals. And by proxy, and you can go do research about, these sort of deals or whatnot. What you have to do is when you make a deal with a shit ton of debt like this, is you gotta cut a lot of, staff. You have to just get as lean as humanly possible. And that's what Anthem has always done with their different properties that they bought. And that is a concern to me, is like, okay, look, what made AXS great was a lot of those people that supported the wrestling on the network, that really wanted that wrestling to succeed and wanted those properties to succeed. Well, if a lot of those people are gone, and it's not that Anthem doesn't want Impact to succeed on AXS, but do they have the muscle? Do they have the power? Do they have the smarts to promote it at that level that the people before them were doing it? I don't know that they do. And that's got me a little worried right now, is like, okay, look, everything that I thought the benefit of AXS was to Impact, a lot of that has been lost. There is still the benefit that most people on the outside just know, oh, AXS TV, oh, they show wrestling. Like, that's good. That is the benefit, of course, of moving to AXS, but losing a lot of that promotion, losing a lot of that PR, losing a lot of those kind of back end people, the wheelers and the dealers, the people that are really promoting it, that is going to be an issue for Impact on there. And the fact that they're running very lean operations as well has me a little worried of okay, yeah, you're on a better network, but what's next? What's the growth plan for Impact on AXS, or is it just a place to put AXS or a place to put Impact?
Well,
while you run it, it's just, that's where my question is right now, where I've changed a few days, with these news kind of progressing and us learning a little bit more about it. I'm more worried than I was 2 days ago about it.
Who's to say that, Steve Harvey and Anthem don't get in the room and decide, we have a wrestling, we already have a wrestling property, Impact Wrestling. Do we really need 3 wrestling properties? We don't know what their direction for AXS is going to be. They can completely change the direction of the network. And they might decide, if we already have our own wrestling property, why are we dealing with these other 2 wrestling properties? Why do we maybe we want to emphasize our own. So again, we don't know what direction this is going to take. And I'm with you. Once they laid off that Dallas office, I felt very uneasy about the whole thing in regards to New Japan and WOW. They may stay firmly committed to both, and they may see the benefit of that. They may decide that it's full steam ahead with Impact, and we're going to build all kinds of new programming around Impact that isn't pro wrestling, because we only need 2 hours of pro wrestling on our network per week. Nobody knows, and we're just going to have to let it play out and see.
I do wonder as well, and I don't know. I haven't seen a lot of people talk about this, so I'm kind of curious if you've heard anything or have any thoughts on this, but AXS TV obviously used to be HDNet. Do they still, what's the rights of the old ROH shows on HDNet?
I thought I saw something today that said Anthem owns that now. which would be wild.
That's nuts.
Now, I don't know. Listen, I don't even remember.
I don't know. Yeah, I have nothing on this for sure. I was just kind of a thought that I had. I was like, oh, wait a minute. I wonder who.
Do you know off the top of your head if ROH on any of their DVDs or Blu-rays or anything uses the HDNet footage?
That's good. Yeah, I don't know. I don't.
Because that would answer the question right there.
Yeah, let's look for what are the HDNet years off the top of your head?
09 to like 011 or something like that.
Okay, let's see. I'll do a compilation here. Look at current Impact Wrestling compilations.
Yeah,
let's see. Best of the Briscoes. That'll have something there. Let's see. 2-disc DVD. They don't list the matches on the DVD. Thanks a lot.
Of course, why would they?
Oh, thanks a lot. I'm gonna buy the fucking DVD. I have no idea what's even on it. You idiots. God.
Ridiculous.
Well, hopefully Amazon has the match lists. All right, they don't either. So I don't know. I have no fucking.
And that's the thing. You know what? Simply looking at the years of the matches won't work either because we're talking about matches that specifically aired on HD Nets.
Right.
So that might not even help you anyway.
Yeah, it's hard to say for sure.
But if they own that would certainly be a plot twist. If Impact owns the ROH on HD Net hour-long shows that aired for 2 or 3 years. But again, I don't have any confirmation or to that or know for certain if that's true. But yeah, that would be something else. I don't know.
All right. So anything else on this topic?
No, I think it's a story that we'll probably be talking about again over the next couple of weeks as all of this shifts and changes. We still don't even have any confirmation of Impact airing on AXS yet as we record this, right? I haven't heard anything about that.
Yeah, I think it's just always been kind of assumed that that's the next step.
And they will, but I'm saying they haven't announced anything yet.
Right.
We don't even know day of the week so there's more coming down the line with this story. But it just sucks that all those people got laid off. But that's kind of how it goes too. I mean, I hadn't even thought about it or considered it, but it didn't shock me when it started to happen. I mean, that's just how these corporate takeovers operate. But yeah, a lot of what's relevant to our listeners is it was a lot of wrestling friendly executives that are no longer with the company.
Right. All right, let's get to we're speaking of New Japan. New Japan's Destruction shows. There's 2 coming up here. September 15th, the Destruction in Bippu, and also Destruction in Kagoshima that we're going to have to talk about September 16th. So 2 back-to-back New Japan shows coming up this weekend. Let's preview those real quick. We'll start out with the Bippu show. We have a preview up on the website right now, voicewrestling.com, if you want to read about that. John and Gerard did the preview there, but Joe will talk about it. We'll start at the top here. Rev Pro British Heavyweight Championship, Hiroshi Tanahashi, Zack Sabre Jr., I believe their 28th match this year. Are you still excited about Tanahashi and Sabre, or are you starting to get a little tired of it?
No, I've never loved those matches. I talked about that at length last week. At least I think I did. I don't know what made the fucking show and what didn't after I.
It did. Yeah. You did express your your discontent for that match. So, but you're getting it again. So too bad.
I'm getting it again. Yeah. So I don't know. It's good for Tanahashi because he doesn't want to bump a lot right now, and it's a style of match where he can roll around on the mat. Grappling fetishists can fucking, get their rocks off on it. But I don't know. These guys, it's just this particular matchup bores me. And since I talked about it really at length last week, I'll let you talk about it a little. What, are you excited about this? Or?
I'm not. I just really can't. Yeah, I've liked some of their matches better than you have, but I'm just at a point now where I'm like, I don't know that I can get excited about this again.
New Japan does this. I talked about this, I think, last week too. I don't know if this part made it either, but they will take a matchup and over the course of a calendar year, just pound it into the fucking ground. And the advantage to that is they don't burn through their matchups as quickly as some other promotions do. The disadvantage is by the time September and October roll around, you get a match like this and you just have no fucking excitement or interest in seeing it again.
Right, you're just dead. It just, you got nothing for it anymore. And that's where I'm at with this one. I mean, I hope it's good. It might be good. I don't know. It's just, they're trying to make this an epic. Like you said, they're trying to make this a big series, an epic, a thing like that. It's just, for me, it's not clicking. Maybe for some other people it is. But yeah, I'm ready for these 2 guys to be doing something else apart from each other. But like you said, there's a benefit to having Tanahashi in these types of matches, and Saber's getting a good rub by being with Tanahashi in these matches. But I'm just not excited about these matches. I'm not entertained by these matches anymore. So it's hard to get super excited about those. So,
I mean,
unfortunately,
Saber's a main eventer because you know, and he's working with Tanahashi, and smart people understood when he went on that New Japan Cup run last year that was an elevation into the main events. Some people still insisted that it wasn't going to amount to anything, and here we are. The guy's working main events with Hiroshi Tanahashi all year long. So it's like, so it's good for Saber, and it's good for Tanahashi's body. Either man can win this match, obviously. It doesn't make a difference, who wins. I think Saber probably wins the title back. I mean, if I had to pick, what do you think? Who do you think is winning?
I think Saber wins it back. Seems like the most likely scenario, given that, it's obviously the Rev Pro title. You probably want it back on a guy like Saber, but Rev Pro and New Japan, the relationship is so close, like we've said, that you can't really predict, like, oh, this is a way to get the title off of Tanahashi, because it's just as likely Tanahashi will show up, for a Rev Pro UK show as Zack Sabre Jr. at this point, too. So it's not like you can definitively say, oh, well, Saber's got to win it back because it's got to go back to the UK. Like, I mean, Tanahashi could go to the UK, or Rev Pro can just say, we don't really care. Like, we're fine with our title being defended in the main event, of a big-time New Japan show. So it's one of those weird relationships that they've sort of developed where I don't have a good read on it much anymore. And because these guys have wrestled so many times back and forth and the titles bounce back and forth and whatnot, it's hard to get an exact, like, I feel like it's almost like a 50-50. Like, I don't, watching the stuff and watching the build, I don't feel like I can definitively say, oh, it's definitely going to be Zack Sabre, it's definitely going to be Tanahashi. It's kind of a coin toss.
And it doesn't matter. You can really just flip a coin. It doesn't make a difference who wins.
This matters, Joe. IWGP Tag Team titles, the Gorillas of Destiny defending against Yoshihashi and Tomohiro Ishii. Is Big Tom Ishii going to do it?
Look, it's the only time that Yoshihashi is good or interesting is when he's teaming with Ishii. Because they have like that.
Funny how that works, yeah.
They have that big brother, little brother dynamic, and it's like his little buddy, Yoshihashi. And Yoshihashi has still never won a New Japan title, which is incredible. Because they have like 8 or 9 titles, and, basically everyone has held a title at this point, with the exception of like Chase Owens and Yoshihashi, and that's about it, excluding the Young Lions. Eventually you win that dopey 6-man title. I mean, that's inevitable. So it's like Yoshihashi has never held a title, which for a guy that's been around as long as he has is pretty fucking wild. So I don't know. I don't think it's out of the realm of possibility that they win this. And of course, the thing here is Ishii is annoyed because Gorillas of Destiny cost him the Never title. That's the backstory to this. So there's a little story there. Even if Yoshihashi and Ishii haven't been racking up tag wins to earn this one, that's the story behind it. So I don't know. I'm more interested in this match than the main event, though.
Oh, absolutely. Yeah, just seeing Yoshihashi in this moment, and Ishii's the greatest. And yeah, like you said, they have a nice little big brother, little brother thing. And yeah, it's I'm fascinated in this because there's an opportunity for a pretty new, fresh-ish team to get into the IWGP title, tag team title mix, and that's awesome because those titles are so stagnant and so boring at this point. So, and
maybe that's Ishii's direction now that Kenta won the Never title. So who knows? I mean, look, I think Gorillas of Destiny gun to my head, I think they're winning the match, but it wouldn't stun me if Ishii and Yoshihashi won and then feuded with these guys through the end of the year, through the World Tag League and all that. So I don't know.
Yeah, that sounds pretty awesome, though. Hopefully, yeah, I'm excited. I want Ishii and Yoshihashi. I hope it happens, and hey, it's very likely to happen.
See, I hope Yoshihashi never wins a title. I prefer that. I hope you always joke about Goto being a geek. Like Yoshihashi's.
Oh no, he's a real geek. Yeah, the Goto stuff isn't just. It's just kind of like but no, Yoshihashi is legitimately a fucking dork. So
wouldn't it be cooler if he's like
what did Dave, a bag of socks, right?
Yeah, he called him exactly, a bag of socks, right? And that's exactly what he is, and it's like
fucking bag of socks.
It's
perfect.
It makes no sense. What is this bag? Makes sense.
What is this, a burlap sack of bags?
You know what I picture? No, you know what I picture? Like a hefty trash bag full of socks.
Okay, so you have in my mind, I have one of those like mesh bags. Like it would be, say you're doing laundry or something like that. You gotta, so kind of that laundry. So it's and that is filled with socks, and it's kind of stinks, and it's just kind of like
Yep.
It's only socks some reason or somehow.
They're
so
dirty socks. They have like the black stains on the bottom from walking around outside in them. Like they're nasty socks too. That's what Yoshihashi is. He's a bag of socks. And I would prefer that he's like 48 years old and having his retirement show and has still never won a title. I would prefer that, but we'll see.
All right, so then other matches we have here, we have Naito and Evil versus Jay White and Chase Owens. What do you think about that one? Obviously building to stuff going on later in this Destruction Tour, but pretty interesting feud right now between Naito and White, so I'm pretty interested in that. But man, I can't imagine who's going to take the pinfall in that match. It's really, Naito, Evil, Jay White, and Chase Owens. Man, I'm at a loss, Joe. Who's going to take that fall?
Well, I mean, you think at some point White will beat Naito, or do they not? Maybe they don't do that. Maybe, I don't know. But I
think just Chase Owens gets beaten by Evil, and Jay White and Naito just scream at each other, and that's
White will have a better partner if he ever beats Naito in a tag than Owens. But yeah, that'll be all right. The rest of the card really is just a bunch of tags, and then you have the Young Lion Cup stuff. So, maybe that'll be, it'll probably be a match that tops out at like 3.5 or something. And then you're very lucky if it's better than that.
All right, so other stuff here. We'll go quickly and then get to the next Shogo, the Kagoshima one. But you got Okada, Goto, and Rocky Romero versus Sonata, Shingo, and Bushi. Obviously, just building up the Sonata-Okada feud between those two. Any thoughts on that one, or just move on?
Just blow through these tags, and we'll talk about the Young Lion Cup.
Yeah, there's nothing going here. Kota Bushi, Togi Makabe, Hanma, Ospreay, and Robbie Eagles. A lot in there. Versus Kenta, Bad Luck Fale, Yujiro, Taiji Ishimori, and El Phantasmo. Tristan Thunder Liger, Yo and Sho versus Minoru Suzuki, Kanemaru, and Dookie. He's back.
He's back. They took him off the roster page, which is interesting. And then the next tour, he's back. So I don't know what's going on with that. But look, he's fine. If he's going to come in on these tours and be the pin eater in 6-man tags, I don't really have a problem with that.
Yeah, no, I'm fine with it too. He's perfect, like, roster fodder guy. Like, I don't want to see him in singles matches. I don't want to win in titles. But if he's just a dude that goes in there and he's the third guy on the team or the fourth guy on the team and he takes a fall, it's fine. It's a good role for him.
Yeah.
And then you have Nagata, Taguchi, Ren Narita, and Uemura versus Nakanishi, Hanare, Clark Connors, and Michael Richards.
Kramer.
Yeah, Michael Richards. I'm never going to get over that. I really, really wish they would just give him a different name. Even though that's a shoot name, I'm sure, and it's unfortunate, but he just really should come up with a different name because I can't think of Michael Richards seriously without thinking.
No, you picture him busting through Jerry's door.
Right, exactly. They should almost just do that gimmick. If your name's going to be Michael Richards, you might as well just do that gimmick.
Yeah, he should slide through the entrance ramp.
Yeah, it'd be great. Just like a little subtle stuff. It doesn't have to be like Kramer all the way, but yeah, just a little slide would be nice.
Shocked all the time, and get an endorsement with Kenny Rogers Roasters. And,
there's money there. Definitely some money there.
But, people are saying, Rich, not to quote our president, a lot of people are saying, Rich, that these Young Lion tag matches have been good on this tour. I can't verify that because I've only watched the Young Lion Cup matches. So those are the matches they're referring to. So, maybe that one will be decent.
All right, and then we have 2 Young Lion Cup matches. I know you want to talk about this a little bit. You have Shota Umino versus Alex Coughlin, and then you have Suji versus Carl Fredericks. Yota Suji, Carl Fredericks. So you have watched some of the Young Lion Cup. What has been your thoughts so far?
I've watched all of the matches now.
Oh, look at that. Young Lion Cup connoisseur. Yeah, I have not watched any, so you got to...
They're awesome. Listen, they're all like 6 minutes long, first of all. So
cool.
You're in and you're out.
I'm in.
And they're just fucking intense and hard hitting and well worked, and they're exactly what you think they would be. And everybody has looked good. It's been a shit ton of fun. The last time they did this, they had a lot of them on like those what are those shows they don't do anymore?
The Lionsgate projects. Yeah,
whatever happened to the Lionsgate show?
I don't know. That was awesome. Yeah, I love the Lionsgate show. You had Daisuke Sakamoto showing up sometime. You had like random indie dudes. Yeah, what the fuck happened to Lionsgate? They just like went away and nobody said anything ever about it. I have literally never thought about Lionsgate until you just mentioned it right there. Unbelievable. Those things are great.
Yeah, and last year's tournament, a lot of it was on Lionsgate, and that first ring with 200 people there, and it was kind of a dead atmosphere. This time around, and those were good matches, don't get me wrong, but now you've got the good matches, but in front of crowds that are into it, and bigger crowds, more importantly, bigger crowds. I guess I shouldn't bury the crowd at first ring, but the crowds are bigger now, and it's just a much better atmosphere for the tournament. And all the matches have been a shit ton of fun. And the guys who you think are standing out are the ones that are standing out. And none of them are bad. I'm keeping a close eye on Yota Tsuji, though, because I do think he's a little bit behind the others. So he's the guy I've been keeping my eye on. And, the 1 or 2 matches I've seen, he's looked okay. And your guys like Shota Umino and Carl Fredericks. He's had like 3 matches already. And Narita, obviously have looked great. Coughlin. And Michael Richards, he doesn't have a great look, but I like that he works with a real intensity. He's the guy from the Fale Dojo. That's the other thing about this, Rich. New Japan at this point, they're holding a Young Lion Cup with young lions from 3 different dojos on 3 different continents. Think about that.
That's good. It's a good pipeline.
And it's like they're all being trained by different people, but all being trained by people who are, you've got Shibata and with a little bit of Kenta and Goto, I'm sure, in the LA dojo. And then, of course, the guys from the Japanese, the New Japan dojo, of course, working under guys like, I guess, Yuji Nagata, I guess no more Kushida, but Nagata, and I think Liger, and I think, doesn't Taguchi have a hand in that? I think Taguchi has a hand in that.
Yeah, I think so. Yeah, at some level. Yeah, Nagata being the top guy, but then pretty much all those guys having, all the top tier veteran dudes having some.
Yeah. And then Australia, you got the wheelman Tony Kazina working with the guys down there.
Which I'll never get over.
Fucking totally bizarre. But again, you've got 3 different dojos supplying talent to this tournament, and then they're all coming together. And Richards, again, he doesn't have a great look. I think he can work on the body a little bit, but he works with a good intensity, and there's good snap to his work, so I've been impressed with him. He worked those Australian shows, too, a couple of months ago when they did that swing in Australia. But yeah, the Young Lion Cup, don't feel intimidated if you haven't seen it or if you've fallen behind, because the matches are all in and out. They're all under 10 minutes, and they're all good, solid watches. I haven't watched anything off the tour except the Young Lion Cup matches.
That's good. I'm definitely going to check those. I did want to make one correction because people are probably going to be in our Twitter mentions already. You were saying first ring, it's actually Shinjuku Face.
Oh, Shinjuku Face, yeah.
Yeah, you don't want to, the pro elitists will get very upset that you.
They will get upset.
First ring, Shinjuku Face. But so as far as, I guess we should chime in here with the.
Face in all caps, too.
Right, of course. Oh, yeah. Look at this Shinjuku. Because that's the thing, like, if I go to Japan, like, that's the one thing where people are like, oh, you go to exotic places. You should go to Japan. But, like, I go to exotic places with my wife. Like, if we went to Japan, like, her idea of a Japanese vacation and my idea of a Japanese vacation is very different. Hers involves, nice outdoors things, big, the cherry blossoms and Tokyo and all that sort of stuff. And mine is like going to the 7th floor of Shinjuku Face and watching, Dinosaur Takuma in a Lionsgate match. Like, that's what I want. And that's probably not what she wants. So it's like this thing where, yes, it would be ideal that I would go there, but like, there's the way that we want to approach a Japanese vacation is probably a little different, because I want to be indoors watching wrestling all day, every day, but probably not the same for her. But chime in here with the Young Lions Cup here. This is the current standings as we kind of preview these shows. Alex Coughlin, Carl Frederick, Shota Umino, Ren Narita, Clark Connors all tied at the top for 4 points. Yota Tsuji at 2 points, Michael Richards at 2 points, and Uemura at 0 points so far as well. But plenty of tournament left to go for those guys. So
Uemura looks great. I mean, that's the guy that I'm falling in love with. Everybody knows about Umino and Narita and Carl Fredericks at this point, right? And by this point, Clark Connors is picking up steam with it, because Connors apparently had the great match with TJP in the first round of the Super J Cup, which also finally is on New Japan World now. But Uemura is the guy I think is the one that's just not talked about enough. I mean, I think they've got something with him.
All right, so now we'll move on to the next show here. This is going on the 16th, so back-to-back days here. This is the Kagoshima Destruction Show. At the top, match that I cannot wait for, Kota Ibushi versus Kenta. Bushi's Wrestle Kingdom title challenge is on the line. Joe, is Kenta going to Wrestle Kingdom? He's going to the Dome. Probably
well, let me ask you something. Why would you beat Kenta at this point? And they almost have to beat him, right?
You're right, because I don't...
Something's up here. Because, okay, there's all this talk of the mini tournament over the 2 nights of the Dome, and Ibushi and Naito and everybody talking about winning both titles and everything. And so we really don't even know how that's all going to work out and who's going to face who and if they're going to go through with that. And you have Kenta in this match, who it would be a really bad idea, in my opinion, to beat him this quickly. So this is a really weird match to me. And since what's going on at the Dome is like up in the air, I don't know what's going to happen in this match. Maybe they do throw some kind of weird curveball here, right? And then still have Ibushi find his way into the mix over the. This is just weird to me. It will be weird to me if Kota Ibushi just hits that Kamagoye in the center of the ring and pins Kenta. It kind of takes a lot of steam off of Kenta, right? Isn't this a weird match to have?
It is strange because he's got so much momentum right now, Kenta, and there's so much going well for him so far in New Japan. I mean, maybe it's the whatever was going on at the Royal Quest, maybe his headspace isn't quite there, but like they have done a great job with him. I think in terms of building him up as a character, utilizing the crowd reaction to him, utilizing a lot of real life thoughts that people have for Kenta, and leveraging that into his new character and moving him over to the Bullet Club and making him that badass and building the things up with Shibata and doing all that sort of stuff. And you're right, it does seem kind of productive to have Kota Ibushi just go in there and it's going to be a back and forth match. Like Kenta will have some hope spots, but at the end of the day, do you really want Kenta just eating a Kamagoya and getting pinned in the middle of the ring? You probably don't. And it's weird because Kota Ibushi is the guy that I think you can have him lose a bunch of times and he just kind of wins, once or twice, and then he's back there in the title picture. He's the guy that almost doesn't lose anything from losing. Whereas Kenta, it does feel like that aura gets really lost if Kota Ibushi just goes out there and proves, no, I'm a higher level above you. I'm going to go off to Wrestle Kingdom and fight for the championship, and you're just Kenta, and you got to wait your turn. It's just that seems a little weird right now. So I'm with you. It's definitely strange, and because Wrestle Kingdom is under so much, in prior years we would know for a fact, okay, Kota Ibushi is not losing this. He's definitely going to face Okada in the main event of Wrestle Kingdom. But now with the 2 days, the title tournament, all titles on the line, all that sort of bullshit, like there is more question for like, okay, is this the time when you have Kenta? You win the right to win it, and then he goes on and defends it and maybe loses it another time later. Is that the time that you do it? Is Kota Ibushi the right guy to lose the briefcase? Of all the guys that could do it. I don't know. Like I'm at a weird place here, and they've almost booked themselves in this weird corner where I can't see either guy losing, but somebody has to win. So I don't know. I mean, I think the easy bet would be that Kota Ibushi just beats Kenta, but I don't know. There's some problems with that too, like you said. Yeah.
I mean, I think Ibushi's going to win. I just think it's weird timing to have this match. I don't know. And it does raise my eyebrow a little. That may be something whack. Because this is uncharted territory, Rich, with the 2 domes and how they're going to handle that. So.
All right, move on here. Some other matches. Oh, sorry. You broke up there for a sec.
Oh, yeah. No, I was just saying it's definitely interesting from the perspective of neither guy can really afford the loss, but one of them has to. That's all.
All right, some other stuff on the show. We have a junior heavyweight tag team title match. We have El Phantasmo and Taiji Ishimori versus, I'm sure, your new favorite team in the world, Joe, Will Ospreay and Robbie Eagles. What do you think about the Birds of Prey?
Well, they had great chemistry at Royal Quest. So, and obviously that's what set up this match. And I hope they win.
Yeah, I hope so too. I really do. They're a hot team right now, and go with it, man. Just keep running it. And it's a good way to kind of keep Ospreay away from some big picture stuff, and it's a great way to get Eagles a title and stuff. And hell, fucking who cares? It's these junior tag team titles. Like they can get bounced around a bunch of times. And Phantasmo's kind of the way he plays his character, he can easily take this fall. And I don't think that team loses anything because he's kind of he's being pushed, but he's also a guy that's kind of like in character a dork. Yes. So it's like he can lose and throw a hissy fit or whatever, and it's like perfectly fine. Like that's the way I would do it, is have probably Eagles pin Phantasmo and that big moment. I'm sure Ospreay would probably prefer that to happen as well, where Eagles pins Phantasmo, and that's how that team wins the title. And I think it'd be a great idea right now to have those guys. And again, it adds another team to the mix, a new team to that mix of a tag division that sometimes gets kind of stale. So I'm all in on that.
And they've got the same group of guys battling over both junior belts, which is something a little different too. That's not normally what they do. So It feels different also because Phantasmo and Will Ospreay have this rivalry, and it's over the singles title. It's over the tag titles now. It was Super J Cup. So that feels a little different too. And I like that.
All right, some other matches here. I'll kind of run through these real quick. We have Naito and Evil versus Jay White and Yujiro Takahashi. Again, I have no idea who's going to take the pinfall there. It's tough to figure out who's going to lose that one, but there you go. Okada, Goto, and Rocky Romero versus Sonata, Shingo, and Bushi. Very similar to the... actually, is that the exact same... Yeah, I think it's the exact same match on both nights. Great, perfect, lovely. I can't wait to watch that back to back. Then you have Tanahashi, Makabe, Hanma, and Liger versus Zack Sabre Jr., Minoru Suzuki, Kanemaru, and Dookie. Then you have Ishii, Yoshihashi, Yo, and Sho versus Tamatonga, Tangaloa, Bad Luck Fale, and Chase Owens. And then you have Yuji Nagata, Ryusuke Taguchi, Shota Umino, Yota Tsuji, Manabu Nakanishi, Tomohiro Hanare, Carl Fredericks, and Alex Coughlin. And then the big two matches here that we're going to talk about here. Well, big two in our world, maybe not for everybody else. Young Lion Cup, Ren Narita versus Michael Richards, and Yuya Uemura versus Clark Connors. God damn, I can't wait for Uemura versus Clark Connors. That sounds fucking great.
I want to see them to see the size comparison because we know that they think Connors is a junior. We know that because he was in the Super J Cup. So it'll give us a good idea of Uemura's size and maybe what it, because sometimes it's hard to tell with the young Lions where they're going to be slotted. There's some of them times they're young, they're still going to put some meat on, and we don't know whether they consider them juniors or heavyweights. So that'll be interesting from that respect. And then whoever, they have 2 tournament matches every night, and whoever aren't in the tournament matches are in match number 3, which is usually a big 8-man tag with the dads. So, you know, that's sort of been the structure of the entire tour.
Absolutely. So yeah, I'm looking forward to that. Yeah, I should now catch up on those now that you've mentioned it. If they're only 10 minutes long and there's not really a ton of investment, I should before these, before the 15th, really get in there and watch as many of those as I can, Young Lion matches, because they're good stuff. And I think this crop is really interesting and really fun. Like you said, the idea that, you have 4 guys from the New Japan dojo, 3 from the LA dojo, 1 from the Fale dojo. The idea, I love that. I mean, God, we love the development of wrestlers and the idea that you have an LA camp, a Japan camp, and an Oceania camp, and they're being taught the same principles but by different people. I love that shit. That's great. Yeah, that's how you train wrestling. You know what I mean? That is how you do it. Is you let people develop differently but under the same principles in a lot of ways, and that's how you get really good stuff. So they know the basics, they know the overalls, but at least they appear different. Like Carl Fredericks and Ren Narita don't wrestle exactly the same, but they wrestle under some of the same principles, and it's super nerd shit, but god damn it, that's what we're here for. So.
And when they send these guys on excursions now, if they send them to the United States or they send them to Australia/New Zealand, they have a place where they continue to train and work under the guidance of the company. Right. Instead of going on these excursions and you send them and they live with Sumi Sakai and then it's just they're trying to pick up bookings and it's totally random and your quote unquote partners like Ring of Honor don't bother to book them half the time and it's just a fucking mess. Now, there can even be more structure from that perspective too, where you send, Ren Narita to Los Angeles and, then he works with Shibata for a year and he gets booked out of the LA office too, on his, and they have a firmer grasp of making sure that he's working for credible indie promotions and whatnot. It's such an advantage to really, and that's the same idea that WWE has too, with the NXT UK and wanting to branch out, and eventually they're going to be in other places too. It's the same principle, but New Japan, this is so good for them, and we're seeing kind of the fruits of that as all these guys come together for this tournament.
Absolutely. It's something we've been screaming about for years as well. I think you and I on the show maybe 3-4 years ago said the best thing for any development company is to have 3 or 4 different locations. We said just across America. I think we were maybe talking about NXT at that time, but you had your Southern office, your Midwest office, your Pacific Northwest, and learn under the same ideals and the same overall arcing thoughts, but have different people in the rooms, have different guys sort of saying, okay, here's what I think, or, guys that are trusted saying, well, here's what I would do in this situation. But obviously, we have to adhere to some of these rules, but you know what? Hey, this is the way I think you approach it. I think that's the best way to learn. And it's definitely a great asset to have. And I think New Japan is super smart by doing this too, and having it in different regions of the world. Like you said, and I think another part that's going to help these guys as well when they do go on excursions is I think the relationships that New Japan has developed in America are way stronger. I have, if say Carl Fredericks, Alex Coughlin, or whoever goes to Defy, for instance, they hosted one of the Super J Cups, recently. I have way more faith in Defy to book Carl Fredericks or Uemura than I do of Pro Wrestling Syndicate or whatever, to book those same guys. So I think they've in a lot of ways built a really good network of guys too. So I'm not as worried about excursions as I used to be. I'm now kind of ready for the excursions because I think they're going to be a lot smoother than they were for many, many years. And a lot of guys have broken through those, like Evil, a case of just an awful excursion that he made the most of. And to a lesser extent, even like guys like Jay White and Sho and Yo are guys that probably could have lost a lot from their excursions and maybe should have lost a lot from them, but didn't. And they're more the exception than the rule. I would really like now to have stable excursion partners and like you said, an idea that you can just go live with those guys and travel from those offices to other places. It's just, it's a great idea. So excited about that. But Young Lion Cup, good stuff coming up here. And then there's one more Destruction show, but we're not going to talk about it this week because we can talk about it next week. That's one's going on the 22nd. So we'll have some time to talk about it before next week's show. So, all right, Joe, you ready for this? Good for the Clash of Champions, not of the Champions, Clash of Champions. Joe, are you ready?
Did it used to be Clash of the, or was it?
I don't know if WWE ever used the of the.
But WCW did.
WCW, yes, they were always Clash of the Champions, and somewhere along the line they become Clash of Champions.
Haven't we had this conversation?
I'm sure we have, because it's one of these things that only annoys like me and a few other weird nerds that care about this, but. It's just because my natural inclination is to say of the, because it's just like that's how it was developed, was Clash of the Champions. But here we are, Clash of Champions. Anyway, let's do this, Joe. We have Cruiserweight Championship, Drew Gulak, Humberto Carrillo, and Lince Dorado.
You did the tongue roll, or at least
I tried. Yeah, I tried. That was good.
You're a regular listener of the Thursday TV reviews.
Absolutely. Patreon.com/voice of wrestling. Wouldn't miss it for the world, Joe.
Slight pause. Big fan of the tongue roll on that show. But yeah, so Lince Dorado, did you know, Rich, that this is, well, you're a regular listener of the Thursday TV reviews, of course you know this, that this is his first shot at the Cruiserweight Championship, despite being an original.
Day one. Fucking day one signee. Yeah, that's...
How about that? But at least they made it part of the storyline, right?
Right. That's good. I can't...
And we don't know where he stands with the Lucha House Party Boys because the evil Arya Davari has sort of gotten between them. And he's had this weird...
Is that really the story?
That's really the story, yeah. It's good stuff.
Yeah, I'm sure it is. I'm sure the fans really love it, too. Yeah.
It sounds... it doesn't sound good, I'll grant you that. But if you watch 205 Live, it wasn't a bad story. It's like Arya Davari's like this loner, and he's a heel, and he's kind of a dick, and he's like gotten into Lindsay's ear, and he tried to influence. But it hasn't been like... It's not. You're picturing it.
I'm making a WWE style, and it's not.
It's a little. It's better than that. Like last week, Davari's like, "Hey man, I saw you," and Lindsay's like, "Listen, man, no, I fell for it once, no more. I got to make up with my boys, and I'm trying to concentrate on my championship opportunity. It's done different. You have to trust me." It sounds hokey, but it's not. But there's layers too, because he has like this weird beef with fellow babyface Humberto Carrillo, right? So it all plays into everything. So we don't know what's going to happen. Okay, someone's going to turn. Is it going to be Lince Dorado? Is it going to be Humberto Carrillo? Or is it going to be like the Tatanka Lex Luger storyline where one of the other Lucha House Party guys are the ones that end up turning, and it was them all along, and it wasn't Lince that had evil in his heart? Does anybody care but me?
Literally nobody else.
Does anyone care? I can feel your boredom.
No, I mean it sounds fine, but it's just 205 Live is tough. I like it when I watch it, but it's like it's one of these things that when I force myself to watch 205 Live, I always enjoy it. But man, forcing yourself to click play on 205 Live is the hardest thing in the world. Yeah. You just look at it and you're like, you know what? I'll mow the lawn or something. Like there's always got to be something.
See, that's NXT UK for me. That's the one I struggle with. 205 Live, I genuinely enjoy. The NXT UK is the one where I'm like, God, do our subscribers really need me to review this? I have that struggle internally every week. But every week I just click play and soldier through. But so I understand. Where you're coming from. I get it. But that's the backstory to this three-way match.
Any chance we see a title change here, or you think Gulak retains?
No, I think Gulak retains because I think the Carrillo Dorado story will move to will be the focus of the match. You know what I mean? Gulak's just there to pin whoever. Right. You know what I mean? So yeah, I don't see. But here's the weird thing, Rich. you know when these cruiserweight matches end up on the main roster shows that sometimes like the main roster agents take over and the 205 Live stuff is kind of ignored. That has happened sometimes. So who knows? But if this is just handled by the 205 Live people, I expect Gulak to retain and Lince Dorado's story to be advanced.
As of this recording, it is not officially on the pre-show, but I mean, come on. We know where this is going. So, they haven't laid out the show yet, but let's be honest, they're probably not going to find time in this like 19 match card to find a spot for the Cruiserweight title to be on the main show. So probably not. But anyway, we have the women's tag team title match up next. We have Alexa Bliss and Nikki Cross defending against Mandy Rose and Sonya Deville. Mandy called Nikki Cross fat and ugly on SmackDown. So yeah, really ready for this match to see if Nikki Cross can avenge Mandy Rose for calling her fat and ugly.
Remember earlier in the show when I said sometimes I just hope Rich carries?
What am I going to say about this match? Are you kidding?
Do you want to get into the should she be calling her fat and ugly?
No,
thing?
I don't. No, we're going to get it in trouble with the Rev Pro thing. I don't. Who cares? Just move on. Roman Reigns and Eric Rowan.
Yeah.
Who done it, Joe?
We know who done it now because Eric Rowan.
It was the second Roman, right? Oh wait, no,
he left Roman and Daniel Bryan laying last week at the end of SmackDown, which for some reason is how 205 Live opened. Did you see that a couple weeks ago? You might have been in Iceland. I don't know. They opened up 205 Live with the post SmackDown stuff that normally isn't on air, that only the fans see. And I'm like, what the fuck? I thought it was a mistake. I'm like, did they?
It may have been, but nobody cared and nobody caught it. So
anyway.
Did you have Aiden English like doing commentary over it?
No. When you clicked play on 205 Live, right? It opened with Daniel Bryan laying down, holding his belly, going, ow, my tummy, ow, right?
Is ow, my tummy an exact quote?
Probably. And Roman Reigns was holding his arm on the other side of the ring going, ow, my arm, ow, And Eric Rowan was walking backwards up the ramp, right? You can picture all of this in your head.
I know, yeah. I've not seen it, but I have seen it in my head. Yeah, I closed my eyes and I got it.
And it was the SmackDown announcers, not the 205 Live announcers. And they were like,
weird.
With their somber voice, like, you are looking live at the shocking turn of events at the end of SmackDown. Eric Rowan. If it wasn't clear to Roman before, who perpetuated that awful attack, it is clear to him now. Talking in their somber voice, and Eric Rowan walks off. And then it just cuts to fucking Spud talking to Mike Kanellis or whatever the fuck. And I'm like, why did we need to see the fucking, the fucking post-show SmackDown nothing happened. You know what? They showed Roman Reigns stand up and then like, dun-dun, 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 where the crowd's supposed to cheer because he stood up, but nobody cheered.
Right, of course not.
Nobody cared. Okay, no one ever cheers for the guy, but no one, so they're playing Roman's music as he's holding his arm and walking off. Daniel Bryan's still laying on the ground holding his tummy. Okay, and then we just cut to fucking Drake Maverick, who's like arguing with Humberto Carrillo or whatever the fuck.
Did we still get the 205 Live opening? Because I fucking love that song. That song's awesome.
Yeah, we got Drake, and then I don't remember if we got like the purple ninja.
Yeah, with the purple intro.
But then they cut to the 205 Live announcers who just acted like they didn't see all of that, and they talked about Drake Maverick.
Weird.
It was so weird.
That had to be an editing mistake, and just nobody fucking cared.
But the way the announcers talked, it didn't feel like it because they were like, "You're looking live." They did like the
right.
You're looking live, except they were somber. You're looking live at the.
Yeah, but was that supposed to be on YouTube, and they just like kept it on 205 Live or something? Like that's
all I know. Is when I turn on 205 Live.
The last thing you want to see is Eric Rowan.
The last thing I want to see is Eric Rowan.
Roman Reigns.
And the last thing I want to hear is dun-dun, 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 dun-dun. There's a reason I don't watch SmackDown. Because I don't care about any of that. And I turn on 205 Live to enjoy a little bit of cruiserweight action. And what do I get? I get Roman Reigns selling the arm. I don't care. I have no interest. It bothered me. And I don't think it was a mistake. I think it was on purpose. Anyway, That's why you have Roman Reigns versus Eric Rowan.
Right.
So
Do you think the Vintner is going to get the big win here?
I don't know.
Who cares?
Maybe he'll drop another fucking scaffold on him, and Roman will just stand up and dust off his chest like he did last time after getting crushed by a scaffold. I don't know.
Oh my god, there's like people putting this storyline over as like, oh, this is really good. Like, oh man, cliffhangers week to week.
And poor Roman having to go on Twitter and act like it's fucking, you know what I mean? Like, right. Well, you know, guys, I thought it was Daniel Bryan, but now that I look at
it's obvious.
It's, you know, it's so bad. It's real good shit. It's real good shit.
That's great. Yeah. I mean, I wonder at what point they decided to. I mean, there was a week where they've introduced a fake Eric Rowan.
Yeah.
And ended the show with it, and then never. This is WCW 2000. I'm telling you.
They introduced a fake Eric Rowan that didn't really look like Eric Rowan. Like,
not really. No.
He kind of sort of looked like Eric Rowan if you were squinting, or like at a glance, maybe he looked like. People thought it was Luke Harper. Like, it couldn't have looked too much like Eric Rowan. I don't know.
But then that just never got referenced again. You have Roman Reigns being like, it was definitely Daniel Bryan. Nope, I'm sorry. It was definitely Eric Rowan. Now it makes sense, even though there was Buddy Murphy for a week. Like, what the fuck is this storyline? Whatever.
Yeah,
anyway, gives a shit.
Rich is garbage. It's why I'm so offended when they ruined my 205 Live with this shit.
We have the New Day versus the Revival SmackDown Tag Team titles.
Yes, we do. That's correct.
It's a match that is happening on Sunday, Joe, and I just thought I should mention it for you. Another match that I know for a fact is happening Sunday. Intercontinental Championship, Shinsuke Nakamura versus The Miz.
You, again, are correct.
That is a match
happening on
Sami Zayn will also be there because he is the manager of Shinsuke Nakamura, the Intercontinental Champion.
That's right.
Defending against The Miz. United States Championship here. This is a Clash of Champions. So you got all the titles on the line here, Joe. AJ Styles defending his U.S. title against Cedric Alexander.
So will AJ have another underwhelming match?
That people will be surprised by? Oh, I thought AJ was going to have a good match, but it turns out it was just okay.
Or that people will think is great for some reason when it's like a 3.25-star match. Or will, because he's one of those guys who really pushed for both Ali and Cedric Alexander, to get called up and get pushed and all that. Do you think so? He'll go out of his way to really have an incredible match, or do you think the agents will get in the way and everything else?
That's my thing. Is like I felt like I've predicted a lot of those like matches to be a lot better than they are, and like this one should be good because Cedric I think is a guy who's obviously going to put full effort into it, and I think is a great wrestler. And AJ is a guy who I think obviously, and you mentioned it too, is a guy who supports Cedric and likes that, but it's hard to know what's going to happen exactly. It's probably just going to be, dudes running in and shit happening and stuff. So it's hard to really get invested in it, but yeah, I mean, on its face, it should be pretty good. And I hope it is, but it probably will just be okay. So,
all right.
SmackDown Women's Championship. You have Bayley, the new heel. Bayley, she's wearing jackets now.
Is she a heel?
Well,
she still gets cheered.
She beat down Charlotte Flair, Joe.
But she gets cheered.
Charlotte Flair's a babyface.
Is she?
She is, because she takes whatever she wants, and she's tall and blonde and beautiful, so she's a face.
Yeah.
And Bayley is
still getting cheered.
Wears a leather jacket. So
right. Like, they're so bad at this. People were happy that Bayley showed some fucking guts and spine, and they cheer. So
I know she's been a soulless wiener this entire time, just getting beaten down by Charlotte, just destroyed by Charlotte. She finally rises up, finally avenges Charlotte, who's been bullying her for years, and she's the bad person in this scenario, and Charlotte's the face because they fucking stink. Oh my god. Becky Lynch defending the Raw Women's title against Sasha Banks. Also a heel.
I gotta tell you though, Heyman is doing a really good job with Sasha Banks.
That has been fun so far.
So,
she's a heel.
He understands though where the talent is. That's one thing. He will identify the talent. Did you watch the tag match between the horsewomen on Raw?
I did, and fun, some pretty fun stuff, and there's some fun spots. I liked, some callback stuff that they did. Yeah, I mean, I'm not like I would have been way more invested in this match had like the last 4 years not occurred with all these people. But there's still some, it's those four. I mean, there's still some significance ever seeing those guys in the ring. together at the same time. So yeah, there's still like, I still get excited about it. It's something that they've still kind of protected to a certain level. So no, I was pumped for that.
Did you watch Ray and Grand Metalik?
I did not get a chance to watch that, mostly because I heard like half the people that I really don't trust say it was great. And then the other half of the people that I do trust say like, oh, why did everybody think that was so great? That was just okay. So where did you stand on it? Did you watch the match?
I didn't see either one of them. That's why I'm asking you.
Okay. Yeah, I don't know. Yeah, it was weird. Like the first wave of people were like, that was incredible. But there were a lot of people that would, say that AJ Styles and Cedric's going to be incredible, even if it's like not incredible. And then the next wave was like people that I trust maybe a little bit more that were like, it's fine, but nothing to go out of your way to see. So I'm kind of conflicted.
I heard it was a nice little 6-minute match.
Right. It's 6 minutes. I mean, how exciting, it's.
Those two guys could have a really good 6-minute match. But, yeah, I don't know. I read the same tweets you did. So I will watch both of those matches, though. I just haven't gotten around to it. Because I think that this is what I mean. Even though I'm not going to sit there and watch a 3-hour Raw most weeks, okay? Especially there's football, it's baseball pennant races. I'm not watching a 3-hour Raw, okay? But you give me 2 matches like that, I'll check in on them. You know what I mean? That's how I handle it now.
Yeah, it's good that we're actually getting those sort of matches every so often now, when there was a long time where we were not getting that. So that obviously is a good thing that we're starting to get those a little bit more. But
and then I watch all the angles on the YouTube. That's what you do, right?
Yeah. Oh, yeah, exactly. It's easier.
All the angles on the YouTube.
Yeah, you get 2-minute snippets of everything that matters, and yeah, you're good. So I think I think they still have I don't know if they still do this, but they had a thing before, which is great. It was like Raw in 60 seconds or whatever that just gave you everything that mattered and cut out all the other 3 hours of bullshit, which was perfect because it's like, cool, I got everything that you guys thought was important, and I got it right there for me. So and if there was a match that I thought was good, I'd go back and watch the match, but you gave me all the angles and all the promos and everything that mattered. So it was good. As far as this one, though, Becky Lynch, Sasha Banks. This is the first time where I'm going to say, Joe, and I'm very curious about this. Sasha should probably win this match, right?
Yes.
So the Becky title reign over. You're comfortable with that at this point?
Oh, yeah. Look, you know where I stood with Becky, Kofi, and Seth. So I don't think Becky, there was maybe a brief moment where she was as over as people thought she was, and that's not the case anymore. You know how I stand with those three.
Absolutely.
I thought they blew the Becky thing, and I thought the bad match at WrestleMania didn't help her at all. And I think it's been all downhill from there. And I think the Becky thing has been more hype than reality. Not to say that she's not in a better place now than she was before.
Certainly. No, she's definitely transformed her career.
Yes.
But that run is not
she was
anymore
not
what people think it is.
People thought she was. That's all I'm saying. That was never the case, and it is not the case now. And Sasha has all of the momentum, and maybe she can catch on and become that. So, yes, she should win the match. Absolutely.
Yeah, I totally agree. So we'll see what happens there. Joe, you're not going to believe this. The Raw Tag Team Champions are Seth Rollins and Braun Strowman, but they are also fighting for the Universal title in the same night, Joe. God damn. They're going to have to coexist.
That's not a misprint.
That is not. Seth Rollins and Braun Strowman are your Raw Tag Team Champions. But, Joe, they are facing each other later in that night. This is insane. How are they going to coexist? How could they possibly coexist, Joe? How? Tell me.
I don't think
Joe, they have to be on the same. They have to team together and then fight each other later.
And listen,
this is insane.
When you have to face a team the caliber of Dolph Ziggler and Robert Roode, it's going to be very hard to survive a lack of coexisting, right?
I mean, I just hope they I don't want Braun jumping down from the apron, not taking the tag. I for one cannot see how they coexist, but they kind of have to though, if they want to continue to be the Raw Tag Team Champions. So, yeah, what a storyline, man. Unbelievable.
Burn it down!
WWE Championship match, Kofi Kingston versus Randall Orton.
This was so great last night.
I'm falling asleep talking about it.
We had to go right back to it.
Now, I don't know if you saw. I saw a clip from SmackDown during my watch on YouTube thing. Kofi got the upper hand on the Go Home show. I don't know if you saw that.
Well, I think Kofi is the holding pattern champion until they hit Fox. You can't go to Fox with Kofi. You can go to Fox with Kofi as champ. You can't remain on Fox with Kofi. They've got to do something better than Kofi for Fox. right? I mean, isn't this just a holding pattern until Fox? And then like Brock comes and beats him or some shit.
Probably. Well, is Randy Orton the guy that they maybe would feel? I mean, they would feel more confident. I think
they would feel more confident in Randy. I don't think it's a upward move. But the fact is with Kofi, can we just be honest? This is one of the worst title reigns in a long time in this company. I mean, he won the title in an awesome match, which was an awesome moment, and everything since has been awful. Would you disagree with that?
I really wouldn't. Yeah, those Dolph things I did not like.
The Orton match was awful. I mean, he's not even having average matches. Kofi Kingston, his title matches have been, in many cases, straight up bad matches.
Yeah, there was the Owens one, which was just fine, if I remember correctly. That was at like Money in the Bank, I want to say, or something. It was one of it's either early spring or summer, and that was just like, okay.
The Ziggler and Orton matches were bad. They were bad matches. And this is not a company, Rich, where you get a lot of bad. You usually at least get competent matches, right? In these spots, world title matches and such. He's having bad matches, Rich. It hasn't been good. He doesn't come across like world champion. He's like super likable, right? And I think no one wants to say it, but it has not been a good title run. And you'd think after all these years and the great title win, it would but it hasn't propelled him. I think he's been a bad champion. The matches have stunk.
Yeah, I think it's inarguable that he's less popular than he was at the time he won that title as well. Yeah.
Do you remember the run up with the Chamber and how over he was? And
you couldn't deny him. Like, he had to win that title at WrestleMania. Like, there was just no other scenario than Kofi Kingston winning that title at WrestleMania. Like, he had to win it because he was such almost the same thing happened with Becky too, where they had those two figures that were like, fuck, these guys, you can't not book these guys to win the top titles. Like,
here's the difference though. I think they booked Becky into oblivion and ruined it.
Right.
And I think we were dead on with Kofi. He was Ron Garvin. He should have won that title and then immediately lost it. Because Kofi was the guy you wanted to see win it, but you don't want to see him hold it.
Exactly. Right.
And time has proven us right on that one. This has not been a good title reign. It hasn't. And the matches haven't been good. That's the other thing. Like, you can't even say, all right, but he's out there having fucking bangers every month. He's not. The matches are bad. And I feel bad for the guy. You know what I mean? But it's like, this isn't working. And I feel like it screams holding pattern. Why do it before Fox, right? It's like the show's in limbo. But when you get to Fox, they're not building the Fox brand around Kofi Kingston.
No, dude, Brock is coming in day one and fucking F5 in that guy and pinning him and winning that title for sure.
Yeah, I don't know if it's Brock or whoever else, but someone's doing it. Someone who they can build that brand around and put on commercials and everything. It's not going to be Kofi Kingston. And to be completely honest, and I don't like saying it because he is very likable, he hasn't earned it either. He has had plenty of time to earn that spot. And he has not earned a spot. Right.
I would agree. Yeah. He hasn't really grabbed, the proverbial brass ring or whatever, he had a great match with, Daniel Bryan at WrestleMania, but like, okay, it's Daniel Bryan. It's one of the greatest wrestlers of all time. Like that, still it takes two to tango. And obviously I'm going to give you credit for that, but
part of that. Sure. That was a great match.
Yeah. But the idea that like nothing in that follow-up has been
show, easily best match.
Right. But if he is truly a great wrestler, a great man, like he will take those matches, the Orton stuff, the Ziggler stuff, the Owen stuff. I think he's had some matches with Zayn or whatever in the build up there and make those as, maybe not as good as the Daniel Bryan one, but still good. Like you said, it's not hard. The barrier of good in today's WWE is not hard. They give you 15 to 20 to 25 minutes in a main event slot to have a good match. The days of you have to get in and out in 10 minutes and it's going to be, this guy doing his big move, like those days are over. They give you opportunities in main event spots to have good matches. And the idea that this is what he's produced in these slots with these 20, 25 minute matches is not good. It's not good at all because they've not been good. They haven't been entertaining.
And look, Dolph and Randy Orton aren't exactly, Kazuchika Okada and Hiroshi Tanahashi. I understand that. So there's that factor too. But does Kofi Kingston come across to you like a superstar world champion?
No.
Because he doesn't to me. And, that's not on his opponents. You can complain about Randy Orton all you want. I'll tell you what. Randy Orton comes across at times like a superstar world champion. And at different points of his career, he has come across that way, regardless of his match quality and all the complaints. Kofi doesn't come across that way to me. You know, he still comes across like, you know, part of this goofy mid-card act of the New Day. And it just, he hasn't separated himself.
No, you're 100%. Not to interrupt you there, but that is to me the thing that really annoys me the most about him is, and I hate the idea that like when guys do stuff, they have to completely separate and have to just be like, all right, well, I'm not in the New Day anymore now. But the idea that there's just still all the mannerism. He feels right now like a guy that got lucky in the New Day, and he happens to have the title, and they're like, oh, sweet, one of us has the title,
right?
But not like he's the champion. You know what I mean? Like, it doesn't feel like he's any different than the rest of those guys, which is good and bad. Like, it's good because I like the idea that this unit kind of stays together and whatnot. But when it's a world champion, you want that guy to feel definitively bigger. But he feels almost on the same level as Xavier Woods. And I don't want that. I want my champion to be a fucking champion. And this just feels like a guy in a stable that happens to have the world title.
I'm still sitting here with feelings that Big E should be the world champ.
Oh, for sure. No, he'd make this work, I think.
And it shouldn't be that way. By now, I should be feeling like Kofi Kingston has been elevated. The guy's been world champ for months. I don't feel like he's been elevated. I feel like he was elevated in the run-up, right?
He's been champion half a year. I mean, Jesus.
Yeah, but, April. I don't know. It just didn't work. And he's going to go out there and have another 2.5-star match with Randy Orton. And I don't know. It just isn't working for me.
Percent chance that Orton beats him here.
It's pretty good. 25, 30.
Okay. I think I'm maybe a little higher. I'm probably
higher.
I'm about 45, I think. And then I think Kofi's still the favorite, but I wouldn't be surprised if Orton.
You think VK McMahon wants to week 1 Fox have a studly looking Randy Orton holding that title on TV, right?
I've watched a lot of Vince McMahon television over these years.
Hi, my friend. And I think he'd rather have Randy Orton now. I think Randy Orton better represents what Vince thinks people want to see as a world champion. I don't think there's any debate, more so than Kofi Kingston. So, yeah, he does have a chance here.
All right, and then in our presumed main event here, even though they're going to tag later in the earlier in the show, Joe, and I don't know how they're going to do this. They're going to tag earlier in the show, have to coexist somehow, and then also have a Universal Championship match. Seth Rollins defending his title against Braun Strowman.
So intriguing.
God, I can't wait.
The intrigue, Rich.
Braun is going to throw him through the barricade, and it's going to go down. And
listen,
that's going to hit a curb stomp, and yeah.
Don't beat Seth now, right? I mean, it would really make no sense if they beat Seth.
No, I don't know why. But then I think. Well, I'm assuming that they care about Strowman anymore, and we found out. We said this years ago too that Strowman is just a conduit to like build him up to have him lose to Roman Reigns or have him lose to other guys. Like the idea that Braun is ever going to be your guy is never going to happen at this point. So
yeah. Well, there was that quote I saw. I don't remember where I saw it. Where Strowman said he was like down in the dumps, and then Vince told him, you don't worry about it. You just do what we tell you to do, and you're going to be just fine. We're going to get to you. We're going to get to you. Like, and Braun said that encouraged him, but that could just be Vince, propping up the troops. I don't know, but I have the same feeling as you. It doesn't feel like because Braun was super hot at that one point, and that was their chance. But you know how they are. Sometimes they don't care about that shit, and they're just going to tell whatever story.
Right. They might have Braun win this title for who knows what fucking reason. But I would, if I'm them, I have Seth, retain it for a few more months. But who fucking knows, man?
Yeah, I don't know.
Vince wakes up on that night, so who fucking knows? Yeah.
Look, analyzing WWE is perilous to say the least. But if I'm going to just humor myself and analyze this, there's no reason for Seth Rollins to lose this match. None. So, which means he'll probably lose. He'll lose or he might lose, and I won't care, and it won't matter. And nihilist WWE analysis continues. I don't know what else to say.
All right, so that's our Clash of Champions preview. I also have a written preview up at voiceswrestling.com by the time most of you guys listen to this. So there you go. Passionate one. All right, Joe, we have about 30 minutes to get ourselves in trouble. So let's talk about the Rev Pro, Josh Bodom.
Get in trouble.
I don't think so either. Yeah, I don't know. This one might be good, but you never know, man. We find ways to get in trouble.
There's always someone mad about something, It's so,
All right, so let's go over this story here. This is from last weekend. Rev Pro had it. So I'm going to recap this as best as I can. So our friends at postwrestling.com, John Pollock, wrote, I think, the best sort of recap here that I think I'll kind of lead you through this, Joe, and you kind of see this because you were watching it in real time. I kind of had to piece things together while I was gone here, but kind of following which is good because I don't really know a lot of the takes, which is I think good and bad in this case. I'm kind of curious what you thought as kind of different things were going on. So anyway, there was a Revolution Pro match last weekend. Post-match incident involving Sha Samuels, Josh Bodom, and referee Aaren Wilde. So Wilde was the referee for a tag match where Aussie Open defeated Samuels and Bodom at Summer Sizzler, your call, August 30th. The finish was apparently messed up by Wilde, who was then attacked by Samuels and Bodom after the match, with most assuming it was just part of the match. Wilde went online this past weekend stating it was an unplanned attack and that he had suffered significant injuries that will prevent him from officiating football matches, which is his regular job, citing a shoulder and neck issue from the attack. Samuels took Wilde and scoop slammed him, which Wilde said was not part of the show, and he said the rest was a blur. Footage has emerged from a fan in the crowd of Josh Bodom attacking Wilde repeatedly on the floor at ringside. A few more things here. Samuels addressed the situation on Sunday, stating a mistake occurred in the match and he was thinking on his feet and protected Wilde while executing the scoop slam. He acknowledged that you should never assume it's okay to get physical with a non-wrestling member of the roster and apologized for his actions. He added that he had reached out to Wilde and wished him the best and wished he had contacted him privately about the matter, I should say there. Revolution Pro issued their own statement, adding that they were not contacted by Wilde throughout the weekend. They believe Samuels made a horrible error of judgment, but believe he tried to protect Wilde with a slam. Samuels will be subject to internal discipline, and there will be a zero tolerance policy if it occurs again. Rev Pro said that Bodom's recollection of what happened didn't match what they saw in video, and they have cut ties with the wrestler. Therefore, Bodom and Samuels have been stripped of the British tag team titles. The promotion is also instituting an internal incident report policy for any future infractions to be reported. So again, it's from postwrestling.com. All right, Joe. So now you kind of saw this happen in real time. What was your take as this was kind of going on, as footage was emerging, as tweets were coming out? What is your sort of thoughts on this entire story, and where do you kind of stand on this this controversy, incident, whatever you want to call it?
I don't think any of the principals come out of this looking good, and I think Sha Samuels looks the least bad, if that makes any sense. I think he looks the most credible, and I have less of a problem with Sha Samuels than I do with any of the other people involved. And I guess when we dig in, I can give the details as to why I feel that way. But I remember in real time, we have staff members who were at the show who were talking about it in our office Slack as it was going on, and they blew the finish. The ref blew the finish. The right team won, though. Okay, that's important. But the match was shorter than it should have been, and they blew the finish. And Samuels was just thinking on his feet and trying to come up with a cover situation for what had just occurred. He was doing what all pro wrestlers do. He called a body slam spot with the ref and delivered what looked like a safe body slam. And then when the ref rolled to the outside, Bodom attacked him. We all know Bodom's a hothead. We all know nobody likes Bodom. Bodom's a jerk. And he attacked the ref. I think, now Bodom's 100% wrong. This is not a defense of Josh Bodom.
Right, and he's also an idiot too. And this is not the first time he's been an idiot too. So
he's been an idiot. We talked about it 2 weeks ago when we previewed the show. He's an idiot. He blows all of his shots. Rev Pro was the last place that books him. So I am not defending Josh Bodom, but the attack was overblown. He was delivering pro wrestling style forearms to this referee's back. They were stiff, and he wanted the guy to feel them. There's no question about it. But the idea that he attacked him like he was mugging him in the street, let's pump the brakes.
It's a shitty mugging. He's a terrible fighter then, if that's the case. Like I am a man who has never been in a fight, but I assume that clubbing somebody in the back is not the best way to win a fight.
Clubbing someone in the back with stiff pro wrestling forearms is not something that would ever happen in a street fight. Bodom is wrong. Let me make this clear again, okay? But we don't have to exaggerate things to show that he's wrong. He's an asshole and a jerk, and he deserved to be fired, and that is all true. But I mean, this was not the vicious fucking, street attack that people made it out to be. But that's neither here nor there. The fact is he's wrong no matter what. Sha Samuels, look, I don't really have a problem with what he did. People might be mad at that. I don't know. It was a bad situation. He's a veteran. He called a spot to make it look like, okay, everyone was confused. I go back to our staff members who were there, and they were talking about it in real time, and they were saying even Aussie Open was confused, but then they remembered that they were supposed to be celebrating, and then they collected their thoughts and acted happy after at first they were acting angry. And then Samuels, I guess his train of thought, you have to remember this is all happening fast. They didn't have 2 weeks to reflect on it like all of the fans do. Okay, it's all happening in real time for them. He thought the best course of action was to say, okay, well, I'm going to call a body slam spot and I'm going to make it look like the referee screwed us, and then I'm getting my comeuppance on the ref. I totally understand where he's coming from with calling that spot. So he calls the body slam spot, and it was 100% a worked body slam. The idea that Sha Samuels attacked this man is false. He didn't attack this man. He delivered a worked body slam. Okay? If you want to talk about whether I did that, look, he apologized and said that he shouldn't. And I thought his apology came off sincere. I thought he came off very well in his statement and his apology. He acknowledged that maybe 10 years ago that would have been acceptable, but it's a different world. And okay, maybe we have to adjust our thinking. I don't know if I necessarily agree entirely, but that's how he feels. And I thought he came off very well with that apology. I don't have really any problem with Sha Samuels in this scenario. And Bodom, fire him into the sun as far as I'm concerned. He had no right to fucking pound on that guy's back.
Right. The heat. If you wanted on a pro wrestling scale to say, well, we needed to get our heat back, or we didn't know, then the Sha Samuels body slam is enough. The referee rolls out of the ring and you're done. That's all you need there. And
if Bodom was out there throwing like really weak worked kicks or something, then that would have been fine, I guess, too. But he was laying in those forearms. Okay, and Bodom was, I don't know if he was trying to hurt the guy, but he was definitely making sure that the guy felt it.
Right. He was making sure he felt it, letting out aggression while also under the guise of, I'm retaining my heat, or I'm getting my heat back.
Working. But he wanted that guy to feel those blows, and that's wrong. He attacked him. Sha Samuels didn't attack the guy, but Bodom did. And as far as I'm concerned, I have no problem with them firing Josh Bodom. And on top of it, he had a reputation coming in, and to me that matters. History matters. It's part of the context. He's been a jerk before. He was a jerk again. Everybody hates him. You know what? Enough's enough. Fuck him. He's got to go. I have no problem with that. I don't really have much of a problem with Sha Samuels. I have a bit of a problem with the ref. I'm sorry, but he comes off shady to me. Okay? First of all, he waits a week and a half or whatever it is to say anything. And he doesn't say anything to the principals involved. He goes right to Twitter. Sha Samuels said, "I wish he would have came to me."
Yeah, and that obviously caused a little bit of
or at least came to me first.
Right.
He didn't go to he goes to the public first. That's shady. That's red flag number 1. Okay, red flag number 2. The Rev Pro ring announcer puts out a tweet. Okay, with with a long message on it, saying, and I'm paraphrasing, that the ref hung out with all those guys the next day at Royal Quest. He was laughing about it to Sha Samuels, saying, it was no big deal. I understand. I'm sorry I fucked up. I understand you called a spot, and hung out with those guys and went to Royal Quest with those guys and had no indication, didn't tell anybody that anything was wrong. And then a week later on Twitter, he's complaining about it without telling any of the principals privately that there was a problem with it. And then attaching his PayPal information with those tweets, claiming that he's injured and he can't work. I'm not saying the guy's not injured. I'm not his fucking doctor. Maybe he is injured. Maybe he's not injured. I don't know. To me, he comes off very shady. I'm sorry, he just does.
Yeah.
Smells.
The timeline is a little weird. Like, so here's the thing. I heard a lot of people say, well, like something can happen to you and you wouldn't say it immediately. Like, I totally buy that in the building. If
Correct.
He goes backstage afterwards, I would be in the same situation. Do I really want to speak up and say, hey, guys that just attacked me, you just attacked me? Like, I get it. There's tense situations there. Things are going on. Like, after the show, I'm going to be all like, yeah, okay, no, I'm fine. It's cool or whatever. And like, if I'm in this situation, I'm not saying that I'm this guy. I've never been put in this situation, so I can't say from firsthand experience, but I totally get the idea that you would go backstage and seem like you were okay. you don't want to come across like that. You're hurt. You're not feeling as good. I get all that. I understand that. I understand how it's a tense situation. It's a backstage. It's the locker room or whatever. You might not feel comfortable saying, hey, by the way, you guys attacked me and that's bullshit and sort of, I get that. I get how you would just be cool with that. But by the next morning, the next day, if you're starting to, and some injuries, they pop up the next day, adrenaline's running. You don't really realize, oh, fuck, my shoulder's screwed or fuck, my back really hurts. Like that happens all the time to me. I wake up the next morning after doing something and go, oh shit, that's because of that. And I didn't feel it at the time because, I was adrenaline. I was playing basketball. I didn't notice it, but man, that really hurts right now. But the idea that like a day later, 2 days later, 3 days later, like nothing gets said, and the idea that again, and I don't know if the ring announcer is being correct. I have no reason to believe that he's lying either. The idea that he says that like a few days later, it was all happy go lucky giggles and all, like there is no reason at that point to still have that situation. Like if you're in the professional wrestling business, I think the day after, 2 days after, if you say, hey, look, like I know you guys were just working, but just to let you know, like that, you really, I think you took advantage of me or what, like having that conversation with those guys, I don't think would lead. And again, I've never been in the firsthand experience. I understand that. I don't think that would lead to much negativity or much like, I feel like that would be a good time to sort of bring that up. If you're meeting these guys independently outside of the ring with a day's notice, everyone's kind of slept on it and just say, hey, look, like, my shoulder's really hurt, my back's really hurt. And I really wish like that would have went differently than what you guys did there. I understand. I get that. I understand that you would want to do that. But the idea that like nothing happened, it was radio silence until he goes to Twitter. Like you said, it smells. It's just a little weird.
It smells. Look, I think I think the guy's a little shady. He comes off a little shady to me. That's all I'm saying. Okay. He hung out with the whole crew, not, with the exception of Bodom. Okay. He hung out with those guys the next day. And was at least according to the ring announcer, who again came off very credible in his statement. I thought the ring announcer and Samuels came off very credible. Now, as far as Quinlan goes, I don't know what to make of him. Okay, claiming he didn't have a good camera shot of the incident. That's shady. I don't like Bodom throwing him under the bus after he gets fired. I thought that was a dick move. Posting the text messages and everything. Bodom gets fired and immediately posts a text message from Andy saying, hey man, this guy's causing a shitstorm on Twitter, but I have your back, right? Basically trying to say, don't think Andy's some good guy for firing me. Okay, but here's the thing. We don't know when Quinlan sent that text. It could have been at the very beginning of all this when he didn't know all of the particulars yet, before he made his decision and all that. So that's a very dirty move by Bodom to throw the only guy in the universe who has his back under the bus. Again, Bodom is not a good dude. There is nothing to like about Bodom other than his wrestling, if you even like it. A lot of people don't even like his wrestling. I happen to think he's a very good pro wrestler. Some people don't. But as a person, there's nothing to like about this guy. So fuck him. I mean, he is the last person to be defended in all. You can't defend him from any angle in this. His actions. No,
he definitely looks the worst and is the worst and is the most culpable of everybody. So yeah, he's just a dork, and no one's gonna defend him on any level whatsoever. Other than the fact that if those were his works or those were his shoot punches, then he's a fucking terrible fighter. Is all I'll say. Yeah. So
now the promoter, do I think he was covering his tracks a little and saving his own ass? Absolutely. Do I think if Bodom...
I think a lot of that was he was trying to get out ahead of it while also saying, fuck, I don't actually have all the information quite yet.
Point is, he didn't handle it well.
Exactly. Right. He instead of just waiting to get all the information before you say anything, he went to say something and then also kind of then have to try to like backtrack or find a way around it or that sort of stuff. So yeah, it was
poorly handled. And let me tell you something else. I don't have any doubt in my mind if that big dummy would have kept his stupid mouth shut and had not thrown the promoter under the bus, he'd probably be back in 6 months. But now he'll never be back. The promoter can't bring him back now, and probably doesn't want to bring him back now because he threw the guy under the bus. If he had laid low and just took the firing or whatever, okay, this is pro wrestling. He probably would have been brought back. But because he's Josh Bodom and he has no self-control and he self-destructs constantly, he buried the guy and now he'll probably never wrestle again. But the promoter did not handle it well. And I don't entirely believe everything he's saying. Bodom needs to be fired into the sun. I have almost no problem with Sha Samuels. I think he acted in the moment. And listen, here's the thing. if you're a referee and you can't take a worked body slam, you shouldn't be a referee. Sometimes it gets physical in there. And I understand that it wasn't a spot that was called in the back before the match. I get it. But sometimes things are called in the ring. And I really feel like if I'm an independent pro wrestler now watching this play out, I am not working with any referee that I do not know and I'm on friendly terms with, because we just saw this in Defy with LA Park and the referee.
Right.
The second such. From now on, I'm not working with any ref that I'm not intimately familiar with. And if I'm going to a new promotion, I want to know what referee I'm working with, and I want to have a conversation with him and know that if shit's got to go down in the moment, that they are a professional who can handle an on-the-fly spot. Because I don't know, people talking about consent and all this, they're taking it way too far. It's pro wrestling, and if you're in that ring and you're a pro wrestling performer, okay, you got to be able to work on the fly, and things don't always go as planned. And anyone you ask will tell you, looking at that body slam, that it was a very safe, very protected slam. Can something still go wrong? Of course, it's pro wrestling. People get hurt all the time. This guy claims he has to retire as a professional wrestling referee. Okay, fine. He claims he couldn't go back to his day job. Okay, fine. We still don't know what his injuries was. He just alluded to back and shoulder injuries. And I don't know. There's something shady about the ref. That's just how I feel. I don't know. Maybe he is hurt. I'm not saying he's not hurt. But, the combination of out there panhandling and, now he says he got a new full-time job. Good for him. And he's going to ride off into the sunset. That just, happened today as of we're recording this or whatever. But, man, I don't look at Sha Samuels in this situation as doing really, now he'll never do that again. I'm convinced of that, unless it's a referee that he really, really trusts.
Sure.
And I really think these wrestlers got to be careful with these refs now. I mean, I guess we're just in a different world. I mean, it used to be, you call a spot and do a ref bump or whatever. And, but it's, I don't know. Things are changing in a lot of ways in the world we're living in. And I guess that's another one.
Yeah.
The ref also, we should mention, claimed that he wasn't paid. We were later told that Rev Pro pays their refs all once a month at the end of the month for all the shows they worked, but that they did take care of him when he complained about it, and then he deleted the tweet. So they took care of him from that perspective. But he's out there chirping about not being paid when he knows full well that they pay at the end of the month. Again, it comes off shady. Like it comes off to me like he was out there trying to draw sympathy as much as he could. And, conveniently, there's a little PayPal link there. I mean, I don't know.
That got me. Yeah. And again, like, I don't want to say that I think that he's lying about his injuries or whatnot, because I don't. And I believe too that you could take a body slam and know how to take a body slam and still get hurt in the ring. That happens all the time to wrestlers. Like, there's a very real scenario that if he wasn't fully aware of it, that he took a worked body slam and landed the wrong way and hurt his shoulder. Like, that is totally plausible. I totally buy that. And again, if he was out there saying, hey, look, I got these injuries and yada, yada, but the PayPal links do kind of bother me a little bit.
You know what? Maybe it's just a thing where it's not my style. I could never go out there, and I don't know. But it rubs me the wrong way, and rightly or wrongly, it comes off shady to me. Mm-hmm. But there's a lot of people who don't. That's just it's kind of become the norm too, though. I mean, online.
Yeah, well, this tweet blew up. Here's my PayPal link. So, yeah, that's, Yeah,
I mean, I don't want to call it, again, the guy may have legitimately been injured. I'm not saying that, but and I hate to use words like panhandling or grifting, but I mean, it's kind of what it is. I mean, I don't know. And that stuff always is just, I don't know. I don't want to delve too far into that.
No, absolutely. It just makes his end, it makes me a little uncomfortable. And that's not saying that I totally discount everything that he's saying. Like, he's obviously, well on his rights to speak his mind about it and tell people that he was injured. But like you said, there's just some stuff that doesn't all add up or feel quite right to us. But no, I mean, obviously what happened to him should not have happened to him. And the Bodom stuff is completely,
completely out of line.
No one's going to, no one will argue for anybody that's arguing in favor of Josh Bodom's an idiot. Like he's that should not have happened whatsoever on any level. But yeah, the Sha Samuels stuff is it's definitely interesting. Yeah. I tend to think he comes across
far less egregious to me.
Yeah, I think he comes across, like you said, the best. And I think Rev Pro comes across not as bad as Bodom, but only slightly above Bodom in terms of the way that they've sort of handled this from beginning to end. Yeah. So,
I mean, handled very poorly.
All right. So that's that. So might get in trouble from that, but hey, no, you know what? People are gonna get mad. I don't know. Yeah, we have
promotion. I don't want referees working for me that can't take the body slam spot. So if that makes me some kind of fucking evil monster, then fine. But that's just the way. Especially now. I mean, if I'm running an indie now, I'm reevaluating all of my referees. You know, I'm like, look. I mean, that's day one stuff.
Yeah, for sure.
And that guy's a train. He said he trained
for 2 years. Again, like I said, so you can take a good worked slam and still get hurt. Like that's totally plausible.
Yeah, absolutely. So. Things go wrong. I get it. But I don't know. The whole situation's a fucking dumpster fire. And you know, Bodom being gone though. I mean, that probably long overdue. I mean that they gave him so many chances.
Like you said, that was the last place in the universe that was gonna still give him chances, and he fucking torched that bridge. So who the hell knows what his next leveler stop is. But anyway, that is it for us here on the Voice of Wrestling Flagship. Do want to let you know again that this episode was sponsored by our friends at mybookie.ag. Mybookie.ag. Use promo code VOICES to activate their offer where they will double your first deposit. So make sure you get in there this week for the NFL. Of course, on voiceswrestling.com/Patreon, you have Joe's NFL Intelligentsia, so you can listen to that, get Joe's picks, and then do bets based off Joe's picks, which will earn you lots and lots of money. Not guaranteed, but hey, you know what? Quote guaranteed, right? Is that like, do you have locks of the weeks on there? Have you made gimmicks yet for like, you know, old school, like Jimmy the Greek style? Like I got some picks, but then I got this pick. Like,
NFL Intelligentsia?
Yeah. Do you have like that sort of?
Yes, I do picks, and then I give you the lock of the week.
So it's a lock of the, you didn't come up with your own gimmick. You're not talking about like the, you know, you got the lock of the week, isn't that? I can't.
I had one last year. I don't remember what it was though. So.
That's why I forget what it was. I remember you had something like that. So anyway, you can use Joe's lock of the week, and you know, on MyBookie, you double your first deposit. Promo code VOICES, mybookie.ag. You're gonna make some good money. So there you go. There, voicewrestling.com/Patreon as well. November to remember, my special project, hopefully coming in the next day or so. Voicewrestling.com for all the previews of the shows we talked about this episode, as well as reviews of all those shows, going to be up at voicesofwrestling.com as well. And then our forums, voicewrestling.com/forums. We do want to mention that, of course. And we've also, in the past week or so, done a pretty big transition with our podcast subscriber and a podcast platform and whatnot. So if you are you're not getting the podcast the same way you did, things are a little bit weird, let us know. For most people, it seemed like the transition went pretty smoothly. But if for whatever reason there's something weird, or you're not getting, hey, I used to subscribe to the JCast and now I'm not getting the JCast anymore. I used to subscribe to you guys alone, and now I'm only getting this feed and that feed or whatever. Like, let us know at Voices Wrestling on Twitter. The transition, again, like I said, I think went pretty well, but there might be some wrinkles along the way. So let us know if you're maybe having some issues, or you know anybody who is having issues, so we can try to solve those issues for them. So anyway, for Joe Lanza, I'm Rich Craich. We'll see you next time on the Voice Wrestling Flagship Podcast. Take care.